Additional context. This paper delves into the complex and crucial area of parole suitability hearings, a critical component of the American criminal justice system. Parole, the conditional release of a prisoner before the end of their sentence, is predicated on the idea that inmates can demonstrate rehabilitation and pose a minimal risk to society. These hearings, as exemplified by the transcript from the California Board of Parole Hearings, serve as a formal process to evaluate an inmate's readiness for reintegration into society. The decision to grant or deny parole involves a careful balancing act, weighing factors like the nature of the crime, the inmate's behavior while incarcerated, their remorse and potential impact on the victims' families and the community. Research in this area often builds upon foundational work in criminology, penology, and legal studies. It draws from theories of rehabilitation, deterrence, and restorative justice. Understanding the dynamics within parole hearings, including the roles of presiding commissioners, attorneys, victim representatives, and the inmates themselves, requires a nuanced perspective. Prior research has explored the effectiveness of different parole criteria, the impact of victim impact statements, and the potential for bias in decision-making. This research often utilizes qualitative methods like discourse analysis and interviews to understand the lived experiences of those involved, alongside quantitative analyses to identify trends and patterns in parole outcomes. By examining the intricacies of these hearings, this work can contribute to ongoing debates about criminal justice reform, rehabilitation, and public safety.
Image summary. The image is a document that appears to be a transcript or official record from a parole suitability hearing conducted by the state of California's Board of Parole Hearings. It provides details such as the inmate's CDC number, the inmate's name, the location and time of the hearing, and the names of the panel members present. The document also lists other individuals who were present at the hearing, including the inmate, their attorney, family members of the victim, and victim representatives. The document is a formal record of a legal proceeding related to parole consideration.
Proceedings. Deputy Commissioner Castro, we're on the record.
2 definitions. Definition 1, CDCR. California Department of Corrections and Rehabilitation, the state agency responsible for managing prisons and parole. Definition 2, term concept.
Presiding Commissioner Barton, all right. Good morning, everyone. I'm Commissioner Barton, and this is the 6th subsequent life parole consideration hearing for Mr. Enriquez, CDCR number H69471. Today is September 15th, 2021. The time now is approximately 8:49 a.m. He's located at Ironwood State Prison, and the rest of us are joining by audio-video conferencing. We're going to go around and have everyone identify themselves with their first name, last name, spelling their last name. And we do have several victim family members and victim representatives that are joining us. Their connection was bad, so we've, elected to have them join us by audio only so that we can hear them clearly and they can hear us clearly. And so I'll be going through the names of those persons as well and over the rules to follow. Just as a precursor to that, this hearing is being audio recorded by the board. No one else is allowed to record or take photos or in any way, violate the terms and policies of the board. And if we feel that is being done, then we'll have to eliminate those persons from the call. That being said, I'm going to start with myself and prompt each person in turn. My name is Robert Barton, Barton, I'm the presiding commissioner. Next will be the deputy commissioner. Deputy Commissioner Castro, Rosalio Castro, Castro, deputy commissioner. Presiding Commissioner Barton. Next will be Inmate Counsel. Attorney SHEPPARD. Laura Shepard, SHEPPARD, attorney for Mr. Enriquez. Presiding Commissioner Barton. Okay. Mr. Enriquez, your first name, your last name, spell your last name, please. Inmate Enriquez. Rene Enriquez, Enriquez. Presiding Commissioner Barton. And did I get your CDCR number correct? Inmate Enriquez. Yes, H69471.
Definition. ICANN, a victims advocacy group.
Presiding Commissioner Barton, all right. And now I'm going to start with the, representatives from ICANN. Ms. Mendoza, first name, last name, state your appearance. Victim Representative Mendoza. Good morning, everyone. My name is Erica Mendoza, last name Mendoza, and I'm the ICANN Victim Representative. Presiding Commissioner Barton, appearing on behalf of Victim Representative Mendoza, of Richard. Presiding Commissioner Barton, okay, I thought you were here for Victim Representative Mendoza, I'm sorry. Presiding Commissioner Barton, Robert Montenegro, is that correct? Victim Representative Mendoza, yes, I'm sorry, that is correct, I apologize. Presiding Commissioner Barton, all right. And then we have another victim representative, Olivia Avila. Are you there? Victim Representative Avila, yes. Presiding Commissioner Barton. First name, last name, spell your last name, please. Victim Representative Avila. Olivia, Olivia, Olivia. Presiding Commissioner Barton, okay. And again, a victim representative for the victim's son. Is that correct? Victim Representative Avila, yes. Presiding Commissioner Barton, okay. And then I'll go through the family members starting with the father, Raymond. Would you state your full name and spell your last name, please? Vinok Raymond Figueroa. Raymond Figueroa, Figueroa. Presiding Commissioner Barton, okay. And next we have the cousin, Richard.
Definition: Vinok appearing via video next of kin.
Vinok Richard Figueroa. Richard Figueroa, Figueroa. Presiding Commissioner Barton. And then we have another cousin, Amanda. Vinok Rodriguez. Amanda Marie Rodriguez, Rodriguez. Presiding Commissioner Barton, okay. And then has Kathy joined us? Vinok Raymond Figueroa. As of yet, no, she has not. Presiding Commissioner Barton, okay. If she does, will you please inform me and we will make that a part of the record? Is there anyone else? Vinok Raymond Figueroa, yes. Presiding Commissioner Barton, okay, thank you. Is there anyone else present that has not been identified? Vinok Raymond Figueroa, no. Presiding Commissioner Barton, okay, all right. Then I think we've identified everyone. As I said, it is being recorded. The Deputy Commissioner's responsibility is to make sure that recording, is proper and taking place. So he's going to check. Everyone, just stand by for a minute while he does that, please. Recess. Deputy Commissioner Castro, the recording is good. We're back on the record. Presiding Commissioner Barton, all right. We're back on the record with all the parties previously identified, and I have put some other things on the record. Mr. Enriquez was received by CDCR in 1993 from Los Angeles County for conviction of multiple counts of murder. There were 2 murders he was convicted of, one of Ms. Gavaldon and one of Mr. Gallegos. And then there was also an assault with a deadly weapon conviction for an assault that took place while in custody. He also had a prior, so his total term was 20 years to life. The dates of those, crimes respectively were December 23rd and December 29th of 1989, then July 16th of 1991. He also had another case pending for Health and Safety Code Section 11,352 from LA County while in custody for bringing, drugs, I believe it was, in 1993. His minimum eligible parole date was back in 2004, based on that 20-year to life sentence. And, I have a current birth date of July 7th, 1962. Is that correct, sir? Inmate Enriquez, yes, sir.
Definition: testimony, sworn evidence given by a witness.
Presiding Commissioner Barton, all right. Would you raise your right hand, please? Do you solemnly swear or affirm any testimony you give today is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? Inmate Enriquez, I do. Presiding Commissioner Barton, thank you. And, how many years have you served thus far? Inmate Enriquez, I am currently serving my 31st year. Presiding Commissioner Barton, okay, and you are 59. Inmate Enriquez, yes, sir.
2 definitions. Definition 1: EME, La Armée, the Mexican Mafia, a powerful prison gang. Definition 2: debilitating, making weak.
Presiding Commissioner Barton, all right. So you don't yet formally, qualify under the 3-judge panel ruling for special consideration for elderly parole. However, I think you would now qualify under the new legislation that came out in January that basically says if you're over 50 and you served more than 20 years, you're eligible for that special consideration. Really, all that means is we consider your age, your years of confinement, any debilitating, medical issues that you have in determining whether or not you're suitable. And I don't think that they had that in your last hearing because the law just changed in January. Were you aware of that? Inmate Enriquez. I am aware of the passing of the new law, sir. Presiding Commissioner Barton. Okay. And so that brings up another issue. And if you need to talk to your attorney about this, that you can ask me and I can allow you to do that, but it's basically that in order to find out if you have any medical debilitations, I would have to get that information from you. And while I have access to your medical record, as you well know, this is a public record, you're not required to give any of your medical information in a public record. However, if you want us to consider it, you would then have to waive your right to privacy or confidentiality of those things and share those things with me. So if you decide to do that, I'm going to assume that you are waiving those rights and you're choosing to share those in a public record. Do you understand that? Inmate Enriquez. Yes, sir. Presiding Commissioner Barton. Do you need to talk to your attorney about that?
Definition: HIPAA, Health Insurance Portability and Accountability Act, a law protecting the privacy of patient medical information.
Inmate Enriquez. No, sir. I so waive any HIPAA protections that are provided by me, by the HIPAA law.
Definition: ADA, Americans with Disabilities Act, ensuring equal opportunities for individuals with disabilities.
Presiding Commissioner Barton. Okay, all right. So, let's go through your ADA review. It says that you have a 9.9 educational score. You got your GED back in '92. I know you've done college work. I know you've done extensive writings. I've read many of those and, excuse me, folks. I can hear everything you're saying right now. Can you go on mute until we, VNOC RAYMOND FIGURO? Yes, we can hear you.
Definition: garbled, confused.
Presiding Commissioner Barton. Okay. But we can hear you, all your conversations, so I need you to go on mute just momentarily. Can you do that for me? Maybe, Deputy Commissioner Castro, and they're coming in garbled too. Presiding Commissioner Barton. Well, it's because they weren't meaning to talk. I don't think on the record they were having background conversations. Deputy Commissioner Castro, I can still hear their conversations. Presiding Commissioner Barton. I know. Folks, we need someone there to try to figure out how to mute on your end. Whoever's working the computer, Ms. Avila or, Mr. Figueroa. Here's my problem. If I mute you, which I have the power to do, then I can't unmute you and you would have to sign in before the end of the hearing and there would be no way for me to check in with you if you're still listening. So if you could try to mute on your end, that would be helpful. Ms. Mendoza, did you have a suggestion? Victim Representative Mendoza. I just got off the phone with them and they said that they are muted now, that they unplugged the thing. Presiding Commissioner Barton. Okay. So it doesn't show on our screen but they unplugged the speaker. Victim Representative Mendoza. That's right. It doesn't show on my screen either that they're muted, but they say that they are. Presiding Commissioner Barton. Well, we'll see if we hear them anymore. All right. Back to you, Mr. Enriquez. We've got to cover these ADA issues. I know that you've worn hearing aids in the past. Did you bring them today? Inmate Enriquez. I am wearing bilateral hearing aids today. Presiding Commissioner Barton. Okay. And are you able to hear everything clearly with the use of those aids? Inmate Enriquez. Yes. Presiding Commissioner Barton. So you don't need any additional assistive hearing devices today. Inmate Enriquez. No. Presiding Commissioner Barton. And you're wearing glasses. I'm assuming that those work for you, prescriptions. Inmate Enriquez. Yes. Presiding Commissioner Barton. If for some reason you needed assistance reading, you could, use the magnifying device that the officer identified for you. Okay. Inmate Enriquez, yes. Presiding Commissioner Barton, all right. Do you have any problems walking to or from the room or sitting in the chair today? Inmate Enriquez, no, I'm not wearing my braces, but it's a good knee day, so I'm okay.
Definition: terrain, ground.
Presiding Commissioner Barton, okay. Did you have a level terrain? Did you have to climb any stairs? What? Inmate Enriquez, no, it's level terrain. I walked over here from the facility and got in a van and walked over. It wasn't that difficult. Presiding Commissioner Barton, all right. I just have to make sure that if you were taking a break that you'd be able to do so unassisted. You have to get up and use the restroom, something like that, correct? Inmate Enriquez, yeah, I won't need assistance.
Definition: medications, drugs.
Presiding Commissioner Barton, are you on any medications that would impair your ability to participate today? Inmate Enriquez, no, sir. Presiding Commissioner Barton, are there any other disabilities that we need to know about that would impair your ability to participate today? Inmate Enriquez, no, sir.
Two definitions. Definition 1, CRA, Comprehensive Risk Assessment, a report evaluating an inmate's potential risk to public safety. Definition 2, impact you, affect you.
Presiding Commissioner Barton, okay. Now, as I said, we will get to the elderly parole consideration issues. The CRA notes a couple of things. They don't look like they are extreme in nature, but, just part of aging, I think. But we'll cover that when we get to that part of the hearing. It doesn't impact your ability to have the hearing. It just may impact any special consideration we give to your physical condition. All right. Ms. Shepard, are you aware of any other ADA needs or effective communication needs? Ms. Shepard. Attorney SHUPPARD, no, it's been covered adequately. Thank you.
Two definitions. Definition 1, due process rights, legal rights ensuring fairness and proper procedure in legal proceedings. Definition 2, Olson review, a review of an inmate's file to ensure accuracy and completeness.
Presiding Commissioner Barton, okay, all right. Let's talk about your due process rights. You've been through this several times and recently. I have no doubt you know what your rights are. You signed a notice of hearing rights with your counselor on April 21st of this year. You also had an interview with Dr. Chan on March 19th of last year. It's the same risk assessment they used in your last hearing. Looks like they gave you another copy of it on July 9th. Sure you, had a copy already, but they gave you another copy. You've had opportunities for Olson reviews. All those due process appear to have been satisfied. You have one more right, and they've told you about this last time too. Because of the pandemic, we can't have in-person hearings. Your attorney can't be there with you. The commissioners aren't in the room. As a result, we're giving every inmate an option to postpone to the next available hearing date, which right now is running about 5 months. If they wanted to, they don't have to give any reason for it. There's no good cause required. Same thing for any waivers. But that's an option that you have because we cannot afford you an in-person hearing. Have you discussed that option with your attorney? Inmate Enriquez, yes. Presiding Commissioner Barton, and what do you want to do today? Inmate Enriquez, proceed with the hearing, sir. Presiding Commissioner Barton, okay. So by proceeding, you're accepting this virtual format by audio-video conferencing as satisfying your complete rights to a hearing. Is that correct? Inmate Enriquez, yes, sir. Presiding Commissioner Barton, all right. We do have a master file. It's over 1,000 pages. I think the one that is here is 971, but I had a bunch of other information that was supplied as well. And we have some of that as confidential. We also have a 230-page 10-day file. Again, there's confidential information. You've got a notice of that. For this hearing, the two most recent confidentialials, one in 2021 and one in 2020. Did you get a copy of that? Inmate Enriquez, I did, sir.
Definition: transcripts, recordings.
Presiding Commissioner Barton, all right. And, just as we have in the past, if we consider that, will make an independent finding on its reliability or its relevancy. I can tell you for the record that the 2021, confidential was yet another person debriefing from the EME since we list you as an influential member. But they're talking about that back at the same time frame that you had previously admitted being a influential member of the gang. So I imagine that's an ongoing thing. Every time anybody from the EME debriefs, they tend to drop your name as someone that was influential at one point in time. And it would only be if they were talking about something recent or since your claim of leaving the gang, that we would find it relevant to our decision-making. So that one refers, as I said, to former activities of yours, that was sometime, after you've already admitted to. And then the 2020 actually is nothing that is negative or indicative of illicit behavior on your part. It actually is a confidential indicating as something that I'm sure you're well aware of, and everything in the records that I've read, all the prior transcripts talk about. And that is the fact that, you are one of the #1 targets by the EME to be assaulted. So it's not a confidential memo that is against your favor. Anything that confirms your status as non-gang member, or at least somebody that is being targeted by the EME. So that's the nature of those two confidentialials. So, for your benefit of your attorney, since I know she sometimes makes objections to those being considered, I'm letting you know that I don't see them as having any current relevance today. Other than that, Ms. Shepard, do you have any other objections or things you need to put on the record?
Definition. Portfolio, a collection of documents showcasing an inmate's achievements, progress, and plans.
Attorney SHEPPARD. No objection. And I appreciate you providing that, additional input. And I just want to make sure the panel received, my client's portfolio, which we did submit confidentially because of the, parole plans.
3 definitions. Definition 1, de novo hearing, a fresh hearing without being bound by previous decisions. Definition 2, governor's concerns, specific issues raised by the governor regarding an inmate's suitability for parole. Definition 3, assessments, evaluations.
Presiding Commissioner Barton. Yes, and the way I will handle that is different than even Commissioner Long. I'm not going to go off the record and do an off-the-record hearing. Both myself and Commissioner Castro are competent readers, and we both read all of that information. We don't see that as an issue. And as you may or may not recall, Mr. Enriquez and the family as well, the purpose of this hearing is to figure out whether or not you currently pose an unreasonable risk to public safety. That being said, we look at many factors. Some of those are static and historic. Some of those are dynamic or current or more current. And then we look for risk factors that may still be remaining. Obviously, in your case, panels had found you suitable before and the governor has had concerns. I've read, like I said, your last transcripts, and it appears to me that, you made an effort the last time to address the governor's concerns. We have a new letter from the governor now that's, within the file. I think it's starts at page 427 of our master file. And it is, dated September 18th, 2020, which is after your May 6 grant the last time. So my plan would be to address any remaining factors that are of concern, because it doesn't do anyone any benefit to look at factors that we feel you've already addressed. And so that's just a long way of saying that we feel your parole plans are adequate. That's not an area where we think we need to make inquiry. That's not an area where we're going to waste time. What we're going to try to get to are those issues that we think may still be germane in our minds. And what everyone needs to understand is that regardless of what's happened before, this is a de novo hearing. And we are informed by prior panels and the transcripts and the answers you've given, and I certainly am incorporating by reference all of your prior testimony and prior transcripts, so I don't have to ask you the same questions over and over. That doesn't mean that this panel is bound by anything prior panels have done. So that's why it's called a de novo hearing. We make a totally independent judgment today based upon our review of your entire central file, all of your risk assessments, all of your transcripts and proceedings. And do you have any questions about any of that, Mr. Enriquez? Inmate Enriquez. No, sir. Presiding Commissioner Barton. Okay, all right.
Definition. Reversal, the governor's decision to overturn a parole grant.
And with that being said, I mentioned this already. There have been prior grants in 2014 by Commissioners Laban and Singh, and then in 2016 by Commissioner Peck, and then 2017 Commissioner Fritz, 2018 Commissioner Roberts, and then Commissioner Long in May of 2020. The most recent reversal, as I stated after the May 16th, 2020, and that was the letter that I just previously referenced from September 18th, 2020. Have you read that letter, sir? Inmate Enriquez. I have, Commissioner Barton. Presiding Commissioner Barton. Okay. Was there any information in there that you felt was new or, different than what you addressed in your previous hearing that you felt you needed to readdress or address at a deeper level? Inmate Enriquez. There were, some issues in the reversal letter that, quite frankly confused me. So my decision was to continue in therapy as I had been doing, with, mental health departments, submit new book reports and continue making amends and being a mentor. There's really no course that I can take, that's available, in Ironwood, that could address the issues, that, Governor Newsom addressed. Presiding Commissioner Barton. Well, I know that you've done okay. Well, so let me give you maybe a little more, what I saw the issues being and where we've been. Obviously, your history is well recorded. I'm not going to put the family through another recitation of the murder of their family member. We know everyone here has either read or heard it before. We know that you ordered her to be killed. We know that you personally carried out another gang hit on Mr. Gallegos, and then you attempted to murder another individual while locked up in, and I think it was a jail holding or a lawyer holding with another inmate. And all of that was done on behalf of the Mexican Mafia, correct? Inmate Enriquez. Yes, sir. Presiding Commissioner Barton. Okay. So that's the extensive history of violent behavior. And then the governor goes on and talks about your continued conduct while in prison, which was more of the same in terms of making weapons, ordering violence against members, selling drugs, using drugs, committing that criminal behavior, right?
4 definitions. Definition 1, programming, rehabilitative activities and courses undertaken by an inmate. Definition 2, reinforcing those things, strengthening the impact of decisions through activities. Definition 3, betrayals, actions that violate trust and loyalty. Definition 4, programming therapy.
Inmate Enriquez. Yes, sir. Presiding Commissioner Barton. And then you've talked extensively in your past hearings about your motives to change occurring. I think you said they started, at one point, but you weren't really programming or reinforcing those things. The original motive, you said, was because you saw what you believed to be betrayals by gang or poor policies or policies that didn't make sense, those sort of things. Is that correct? Inmate Enriquez. Yes, sir. Presiding Commissioner Barton. And, around what year was that? Inmate Enriquez. If I remember correctly, it was in, 2000, the late 90s when they started talking about killing family members. Presiding Commissioner Barton. Well, you dropped out in 2002, right? Inmate Enriquez. Yes, sir.
Definition. SNY, a prison facility.
Presiding Commissioner Barton. Excuse me. And then you said that you still, however, had a relapse where once you got to SNY, you still want to be that guy, so you started selling dope, right? Inmate Enriquez. Yes. Presiding Commissioner Barton. So there was still, while there may have been a decision to change, you weren't changing from being a criminal, you were simply changing. Who you were a criminal with basically, right? Inmate Enriquez. Yes, sir. Presiding Commissioner Barton. Okay. It looks like we have someone trying to dial in. Everybody stand by. I'm going to find out who this is. Good morning. This is Commissioner Barton. I've just admitted someone to our hearing with a phone number. Who is that's joining us? VNOK RAYMOND FIGUR. It's the Gavalden family. Family of Inaudible Richard, Raymond, Amanda, and Olivia. Presiding Commissioner Barton. Okay. And so did we lose you on your computer? Is that why we're dialing VNOK RAYMOND FIGUR? Yeah, it's not allowing us to rejoin. Presiding Commissioner Barton? Okay, all right. Well, I can hear you clearly. Can you mute so that we don't hear all of you? Bien ok, RAM1D FIGROA. Yes. Presiding Commissioner Barton? Okay. That would be great. Thank you, okay, all right, so we'll continue. Just for the record, we had some technical difficulties with all the family members that are in one place, that we previously identified. That was, Mr. Figueroa Sr., the victim's cousin Richard Figueroa, Amanda Rodriguez, and they're there with, ICANN representative, Olivia Avila. And so they just dialed in, so we have them by audio now rather than on their computer. So we'll continue. So we were having a discussion of your history and what you described as your change and your motives to change. And you said that after 2002, you continued your criminal activities up until when? Inmate Enriquez, 2000, December 22, 2005. Presiding Commissioner Barton? Okay. What happened that day? Inmate Enriquez. I was transferred out of the CDC custody to DEA custody. Presiding Commissioner Barton? Okay. When did the conversations take place with your wife or your son trying to speak into your life? Inmate Enriquez. They had, with my son was admittedly prior to the transfer. My wife had been continuously. But the most poignant conversation I had after I was transferred to the DEA custody, she told me that, any relapse would be, cause for her to leave. Any use of drugs, any illicit behavior at all. And my son quite frankly has told me, he said, Dad, if you were really serious about changing your life, you would take that black hand off your chest and you'd stop doing dope. And it had impact on me. Presiding Commissioner Barton, so when did you do that? Inmate Enriquez, I wasn't able to do the tattoo removal until some years later. My drug use stopped, on that time. I was using drugs all the way until I left Lancaster State Prison. But after that point, I stopped using completely. Presiding Commissioner Barton, so you had 16 years clean and sober.
2 definitions. Definition 1, relapse plans. Strategies to prevent a return to criminal behavior or substance abuse. Definition 2, 12 steps. A set of guiding principles for recovery from addiction.
Inmate Enriquez, yes, sir. Presiding Commissioner Barton, and again, I've seen the writings. I've seen the relapse plans. I've read your transcripts. You're conversing in the 12 steps. You help other people work on the 12 steps. That may be less of a concern for us today, although the Deputy Commissioner may want to delve into that. I'll leave that up to him since he deals with post-conviction things. Are you continuing in recovery now? Inmate Enriquez, oh, certainly. I just wrote, the relapse prevention plans I submitted today. I just assisted 2 other gentlemen actually wrote it for them, to help them learn about. Presiding Commissioner Barton, I don't want to know about them. I want to know about you. My question was, are you continuing recovery? I mean, you're talking about basically the 12th step, right? Helping others. Inmate Enriquez, yes. Yeah, I continue my recovery. I practice my steps every day. My favorite step is the 10th step, but nightly, I take a personal inventory and promptly admit when I'm wrong. I also practice a thing called NAKEN where I reflect on who I've harmed, who I've helped, and how I've harmed other people. So that's my grounding technique every day.
Definition. Spiritual conversion, a fundamental change in religious beliefs.
Presiding Commissioner Barton, okay, we don't need a long dissertation. Like I said, we've read everything you've written. You've talked about the courses that you've taken in the past. You also talked about part of your change being a spiritual conversion. At least in your last transcript you talked about that. When did that allegedly happen? Inmate Enriquez, I was baptized, my second year here, which was, 2015-2016. I was baptized in the chapel here. I committed myself to the Lord. I attend church weekly. During COVID we couldn't attend. We just started up again last month, but, I'm a firm believer in Christianity and, I believe that has a lot to do with, my change as well. Presiding Commissioner Barton, okay, so that's your, you practice a Protestant faith. Inmate Enriquez, non-denominational.
Definition: tenets of that faith, basic principles and beliefs of a religion.
Presiding Commissioner Barton. Okay. And that's fine. We don't care what particular faith anybody practices. It's just when, inmates do claim to have had a spiritual conversion, my question is always, how real that is and, how much of their daily life is it actually impacting? Are they actually going services? Are they doing things, follow the tenets of that faith? So you're saying you go to church. What else do you do? Inmate Enriquez. I read my Bible. Like this morning, I read Joshua 1:9, and I quoted this as behold, I put my words in your mouth, and I was asking the Lord to give me the correct, wording for this hearing today. I practice, reading my Bible at least, one scripture every day, and I pray every day. I mean, that's part of my daily life, right? I incorporate my walk with the Lord every day into my recovery, as well as just my spiritual renewal.
12 definitions. Definition 1: discourse, verbal exchange of ideas, conversation. Definition 2: colloquy, a formal conversation or discussion. Definition 3: road to Damascus, refers to a transformative experience. Definition 4: ingrained patterns, deeply established habits of thought and behavior. Definition 5: narcissistic thinking, an inflated sense of self-importance. Definition 6: prosocial changes, positive changes in behavior and attitude. Definition 7: altruistic, selfless concern for the well-being of others. Definition 8: desistance, the process of ceasing criminal behavior. Definition 9: authentic and enduring transformation, a genuine and lasting change. Definition 10: gain the system, manipulate the system for personal benefit. Definition 11: offender change, rehabilitation. Definition 12: allegedly occurred, happened.
Presiding Commissioner Barton. Okay. Yeah. I read your discourse with Deputy Commissioner Denver last time when you had the colloquy about, the road to Damascus. So, my questions really is so that I can establish a timeline if in fact there has been offender change, when those changes, allegedly occurred. And so that's what I'm doing here, was keeping sort of a timeline. Because again, the governor talks about, ingrained patterns of antisocial and narcissistic thinking and behavior, and some of the prosocial changes he has made may not have been altruistic, quoting some of the context of the CRA. And then, talks about doing more to demonstrate his desistance from his conduct, representing an authentic and enduring transformation in thought and conduct, and not merely an attempt to gain the system. Did you read that? Inmate Enriquez. I did. Presiding Commissioner Barton. Okay. So that's why I'm asking, that's the relevance to me of asking you these questions. So in addition to, the family motivation, your own dissatisfaction or disillusionment with the gang and what it meant, obviously you've done other things for law enforcement, and that's all well recorded, as well as far as work with law enforcement to testify against the Mexican Mafia, etc. What else would you say recently would indicate that this is an authentic and enduring transformation?
3 definitions. Definition 1: barometer, something that reflects conditions. Definition 2: extraordinary conduct credit, a sentence reduction awarded for exceptional behavior in prison. Definition 3: transparent, open and honest.
Inmate Enriquez. I think that in my commitment to my recovery and continued participation in self-help, but education and spiritual programming is the best barometer to judge my behavior. I think there are a couple of things, like I was recommended for extraordinary conduct credit this year by the Director of Corrections, and that's being processed now. The district attorney supported my parole this year, which is different. It's entirely different. These are outside, independent individuals who are recognizing that my behavior is authentic, it's transparent, and it's genuine. I don't know that there's a program that I could take that would prove that other than by continuing participation and my prosocial behavior, by adhering to the rules. Presiding Commissioner Barton, and I'm not talking about a program. That's not what I was talking. You talked a little bit about it last time, and it was this concept of, does one change because you want to get out of prison, or does one change because they want to be a better human being?
6 definitions. Definition 1, Youth Offender Program, a program designed to rehabilitate young inmates. Definition 2, Dissuade, to persuade someone not to do something. Definition 3, Interpersonal change, changes in someone's behavior. Definition 4, Insight, understanding the nature of things. Definition 5, Trauma, deeply distressing or disturbing experience. Definition 6, Humbling, having or showing a modest or low estimate of one's own importance.
Inmate, ENRIQEZ? Okay. Now I understand your question. I think that there came a point in my life when I understood that the reversals may continue in perpetuity, and it wasn't just about getting out anymore. This is just about becoming a better person. That's interpersonal change that I felt. Okay. Now my role in this is to help other men avoid the path that I took and to dissuade others from participating in that. And that's the role that I've assumed now as a mentor in the Youth Offender Program. And thankfully, by taking that role, I understand that that may occur, in perpetuity. I may get reversed forever. And although that's bothersome, I can't say I'm quite comfortable with that. I understand that that may be the truth. And now my main reason is to help other individuals because it's rewarding when you see a youth offender gain some aspect of insight that they never knew before. You teach them how the trauma of their childhood impacts all their future behavior and the belief system. And I think one of the most rewarding things is when they teach me. It's a very extremely humbling to have a young man teach an older man, teach an old dog new tricks, so to speak. So for me, it's Presiding Commissioner Barton, like what?
2 definitions. Definition 1, Commutation, the shortening of a prison sentence. Definition 2, Paroled, released.
Inmate, ENRIQEZ? Humility. Humility. One of the guys that he had a 240-year life sentence. He just paroled. He got commutation and, he taught me humility. He was just a great kid. And, Presiding Commissioner Barton. Well, that's a very general statement. How does one teach one humility? Or do you mean he was an example of humility?
2 definitions. Definition 1, Setback, a reversal or delay in progress. Definition 2, the spirit of generosity, the quality of being kind and generous.
Inmate, ENRIQEZ. He was an example of humility, and I strive to achieve that because part of my personality was being an arrogant individual. And I watched him display humility to everybody he met and how graciously he accepted his commutation and the disappointments that came along with that. It was setback. But there've been other individuals who have taught me as well about the spirit of generosity and altruism and giving without expectation. There are just life lessons that come along with being a mentor that they enrich my life. And that is the reward.
2 definitions. Definition 1, Amazon, online retailer. Definition 2, Charity, organization for helping those in need.
Presiding Commissioner Barton, let me ask you about that because you've raised the idea of generosity and altruism, and this has been a criticism, I guess, in the past. I recognize that you were not the primary author. It was the journalist that wrote the book, but I know that that book is still selling. It's still on Amazon. There's still money coming in from it. You've testified in the past that you give money that you receive to charity. How does that work?
4 definitions. Definition 1, Proceeds, the money made from something. Definition 2, Victims Fund, fund for supporting victims of crime. Definition 3, Widows Fund, fund for supporting widows. Definition 4, Books, inmate account for financial transactions.
Inmate, ENRIQEZ. The books that are authored. The publisher donates a portion of the proceeds to a victims fund and a widow's fund. Presiding Commissioner Barton, in your name. Inmate, ENRIQEZ. No, it does it in the name of Police and Fire Publishing. Presiding Commissioner Barton. Okay.
Definition. Copyright, the exclusive legal right to print, publish, perform, film, or record literary, artistic, or musical material, and to authorize others to do the same.
Inmate, ENRIQEZ. I don't receive money. I don't receive any money. I don't own the copyright to the books at all. Family member receives money from the proceeds. Presiding Commissioner Barton. The family members of the victims. Inmate Enriquez. No. I was advised that I could not contact the victims or make offers of money to the victims at all. Presiding Commissioner Barton. Well, but that's why I'm asking. Who's the family member that receives money? Inmate Enriquez. One of my family members.
2 definitions. Definition 1, trusts or funds, financial arrangements to benefit others. Definition 2, third-party pass-through, indirect recipient of funds.
Presiding Commissioner Barton. Okay. And while it's true, you can't make direct contact, I have heard of inmates who have set up trusts or funds that could go to other. You can't think of any other charitable groups like victims groups that would use that money. Here's the obvious situation is that even though the money is going to a family member of yours as a third-party pass-through, they can put money on your books, right? Did we just lose Ironwood? Deputy Commissioner Castro. Yeah, it looks like they froze. Presiding Commissioner Barton. Yeah, it looks like they froze. So if you can hear us in Ironwood, your computer screen froze. We don't know what's happening there. Hopefully you can get a hold of the officer and sign back in. It is 9:26. We're going to go on recess until we can re-establish contact with the prison, so we're off record. Recess. Deputy Commissioner Castro, we're back on the record. Presiding Commissioner Barton, all right. We're back on the record in the matter of Mr. Enriquez's subsequent parole consideration hearing. We have him, and his counsel. We also have the Deputy Commissioner. We have the family. We have Ms. Mendoza. Looks like the family has dialed back in the computer. So I believe that they're present with us as well. Actually have 2 screens, one showing muted. So I think they must have figured out how to work their mute because I see that it's muted. All right, so we'll continue. Ms. Mendoza, I'm going to rely on you if for some reason Ms. Avila says they lose the ability to hear us. I'll let you notify me because I know you're in phone contact with them. All right, so let's go back on. Are we on the record? Deputy Commissioner Castro, we're back on the record, yes. Presiding Commissioner Barton, okay, so Mr.
3 definitions. Definition 1, devastation, great destruction or damage. Definition 2, general knowledge, information known to everyone. Definition 3, glorify the lifestyle, representing something in an attractive way.
Enriquez, we left off and unfortunately on a power outage there, and so we lost your answer. I was talking to you about, the funds that your third-party family member receives for the book that you were involved in the writing of. You had said, you're aware you can't directly or indirectly give funds to the victims or their family members. And that's true. The policy behind that is we don't want it to look like someone who's buying their way out of prison or bribing their way out of prison or something like that. But that's not to say, and I've heard of other inmates doing this, that you couldn't create some type of situation where any funds would go to, charities for victims or any other charity of your choice for that matter. Because the obvious concern would be for anyone who was cynical involving motives, that if it's going to a family member, that's just a third-party pass-through, because obviously they can put money on your books. So the money that's going to them could be transferred to you, and thereby, you would be, in essence, gaining or profiting off of the devastation of people's lives. I'm not saying that the book itself is doing that necessarily. I think the law enforcement purposes and general knowledge, it may be serving some good purposes. But unfortunately, we also know that there are kids out there that read that stuff and don't see the bad. They just glorify the lifestyle. So that said, have you, ever considered how that might look to someone on the outside? Inmate Enriquez. I am frequently asked that question while I'm on the stand testifying. It's, one of the things that defense attorneys asked me. And I can understand how that looks, and I've long, been willing to start some type of memorial fund, for the families of the victims or the grandchildren. The recipient does make donations as well as the publisher. The publisher makes direct donations to the fallen victims, fallen officers fund, and a victims fund. But I just don't know how to go about doing that, and what the appropriateness is, because I was advised that to attempt to, make a donation to a family member would be untoward and highly illegal. Presiding Commissioner Barton, That's all correct. But you missed the point of my question, or you purposely avoided it.
3 definitions. Definition 1, anti-gang works, efforts for counteracting activities of a gang. Definition 2, Homeboy Industries, gang rehabilitation organization in LA. Definition 3, disingenuous, not candid or sincere.
Inmate ENRIQEZ. No, I didn't avoid the question. Can you? Presiding Commissioner BARTON. Well, you just repeated what you'd already told me. The publisher's doing donations. You said that, and then you said that you feel it would be untoward to do anything directly for the victims, and I'd already agreed with that and the reasons for it. But you avoided the question, which was, isn't it true that they could just pass through those funds to you by putting that money on your books? Inmate ENRIQEZ. I guess they could, but I rarely receive money from my wife. I don't ask money from my family. Presiding Commissioner BARTON. I wasn't asking who was getting the money. I recognize there are certain things in your record that are confidential for good reason. I'm not trying to put you or your family members in danger. Okay? So, unless I ask you for a particular person, I wasn't asking that. What I was saying is, you're a smart guy. It's obvious to me you're a smart guy. So you seem to think that there's no way that those funds couldn't be sent indirectly, not to the family of your particular crime, but what about even to anti-gang works? What about to an organization like Homeboy Industries? What about an organization that works to defeat gangs in LA? Couldn't those funds be used for those kinds of purposes? Inmate ENRIQEZ, of course. And I'd be willing to make those donations, if it. Presiding Commissioner BARTON, it's not up to me to tell you have to do those things. I'm asking you. And I find it rather disingenuous that you would say that, oh, I just don't know how to do that. I don't know how. Well, now you've told me it was your wife that's getting the money, how she could do that. It'd be very easy. You're a smart guy. You could have figured that out a long time ago and said, hey, any money for that book, I want to go into keeping other people from being gang members or helping others. It wouldn't be anything untoward about that at all.
Definition. Enrich your family, making family members wealthy.
Inmate ENRIQEZ. I understand that, sir. I understand that. When I inquired about making the donation to the family or creating a charitable fund, I was told not to do it. At that point, I'd let it go. I am not attempting. Presiding Commissioner BARTON, forget giving it to the family or a fund and memorial. I get it. Set that aside. Again, you're a smart guy. That's not what I'm talking to you about. You know that's not what I'm talking. I'm saying instead of the money going to enrich your family, why not have them go to a cause that could rebuild some of the inaudible that you've caused? Correctional Officer Unidentified. Commissioner, you're breaking up, Commissioner. We cannot hear you. Presiding Commissioner BARTON. Okay, I don't know if it's on my end or your end. Can you hear me now? Correctional Officer Unidentified. Seems like we can hear you like every third word. Deputy Commissioner Castro. It's got to be on their end because on my end, it's coming in clear. Presiding Commissioner BARTON. Okay, yeah. Are you guys having power situation there again? Correctional Officer Unidentified. We can't hear you. Would you like for us to, log off and log back on? Deputy Commissioner Castro. Yes. Presiding Commissioner BARTON. Will stay on the record. Try to do that. Correctional Officer Unidentified. Okay, let me try that. Deputy Commissioner Castro. We're still on the record. Presiding Commissioner BARTON. Yep, still on the record. I just want to give them a chance to get a clear connection. Okay, looks like they dialed back in. Let's see if we have a better connection. Can you hear me now? Inmate ENRIQEZ. I can hear you perfectly now.
2 definitions. Definition 1, potent, able. Definition 2, attenuated, weak.
Presiding Commissioner BARTON. All right, let's give it another shot. So we're still on the record. We never left the record. I was talking to you about, and I want to be very clear because this is now the 3rd time that I'm asking you the same question. I get it. The 2nd time might have been garbled. I've already agreed with you. You don't have to repeat it. There's nothing you can do specifically to give money to the victims or their families that wouldn't be seen as potentially trying to buy them off or something along those lines. That's why that rule is in place. You then told me that the publisher gives money. I said, I don't care about what the publisher does. Your family is being enriched. You said a third party. I didn't ask you who it was. You offered who it was. My next point was, couldn't they just pass through the money to you? You then said, I don't ask for money from them. So if they are, it's very attenuated. But my real question was, a guy as smart as you're telling me that even though you would like to do this, you couldn't figure out a way to have those funds directed to an organization that works to stop gangs or an organization that works to help victims. You couldn't figure out a way to do that on your own. Inmate Enriquez. I can figure out a way. I just never have attempted it in the past. Presiding Commissioner Barton. Why? Inmate Enriquez. I didn't. Presiding Commissioner Barton. You said inaudible that was your altruistic purpose.
4 definitions. Definition 1, community, group of people living in the same place. Definition 2, albeit, though, although. Definition 3, enrich themselves, made wealthy. Definition 4, vicariously enrich, indirectly making someone wealthy.
Inmate Enriquez. Well, one of my altruistic purposes was to edify the public. The finances, I never thought to do that. Presiding Commissioner Barton. Well, but see, it's a genuine concern or question when anybody with this horrible, devastating effect as you've had on your community would in any way either be enriched themselves or vicariously enrich their family as a result of their criminal deeds and exploits, albeit in a format of a book that's written by somebody else that has some beneficial meritorious, purposes to it. That seems a general question for anyone, and it's come up before. Because I read your transcript where the last time you were asked this question, and I might have to go back now and find my notes where put it down, you basically said, all the money goes to charity. You remember saying that in the past? I don't know if it was the last transcript or the one before it that they accepted your word on that. Inmate Enriquez. I believe that my testimony, I'm not sure that I said that, but the portion of the proceeds go to charity. Presiding Commissioner Barton. Okay, so you think you said a portion. Inmate Enriquez. Yes, because I know that FFP donates portion of the proceeds. I know that that family member donates a portion of the proceeds to charity as well. Presiding Commissioner Barton. Okay. Well, and again, I don't know that that's exactly how it was phrased or exactly how those commissioners, but I certainly was something that I was unclear on, which is why I'm asking you about it. Because again, it ties into what one of the governor's concerns is this change real? Is altruism real, or is it just convenient, a window dressing? I forget how they phrased it, but it was something like that. And so do you see how it could look that way? Inmate Enriquez. I do. And I apologize for, not answering the question directly. It's never been asked to me this way.
Definition. Profits, financial gain, especially the difference between the amount earned and the amount spent in buying, operating, or producing something.
Presiding Commissioner Barton. Well, so take it to the next step. I mean, you said you hadn't considered it, and I'm asking, could you see where those profits could be used to help people? Inmate Enriquez. Yes, I do. Presiding Commissioner Barton. Okay, all right.
5 definitions. Definition 1, Static 99R, a tool for assessing the risk of sexual reoffending. Definition 2, Clinician, person qualified to deliver medical care. Definition 3, Sex offenders, person who has committed a sex crime. Definition 4, elevates your risk, increases your chances of committing a crime. Definition 5, register, enroll.
So we'll shift now to this next concern, and this is going to be uncomfortable, and that's just the nature of it, but you're the one who committed these acts. So we're going to talk about them because this is something that, at least in this reversal, the governor seized upon comments about your static 99R, 88% rating. Also seized upon the fact that the wording choice of the clinician was that it only slightly elevates your risk, which it would be of concern to any of us who handle sex offenders. Are you going to have to register when you're paroled?
Definition. Statute written law.
Inmate Enriquez. I believe I'm going to have to register, but I also know that there's a new statute that allows me not to be placed on the public website.
Definition: 290 requirements, legal obligations for registered sex offenders.
Presiding Commissioner Barton. Right. Well, and that was going to be my next question you'd be registering under obviously, a different name. And so my question was going to be, what's your understanding of how you're going to be held accountable to 290 requirements if you're going to get an identity change?
5 definitions. Definition 1, registry list. Definition 2, GPS monitor, device for tracking location. Definition 3, accountability, responsibility. Definition 4, absolve me, release me. Definition 5, guidelines, standards.
Inmate Enriquez. I think that the requirements still apply. I'll still have to wear a monitor, a GPS monitor inaudible with law enforcement, and this will not be on the registry. I think all the accountability is that hasn't changed. That does not absolve me from the necessity to register, adhere to the guidelines that are set forth on my parole conditions, and I'll adhere to all of those.
Definition: factors to consider, things to think about.
Presiding Commissioner Barton. Okay. So here's the thing. I have my own notes on the training that I've received over many years in law enforcement and on the board regarding sex offenders, factors to consider. So I'm going to take you through some of these things. First is your age at the time of the crime. The way I have it is you were 79. It was 1979. You were 17 at the time of the gang rape. Inmate Enriquez. Yes. Presiding Commissioner Barton. And in 86, you would have been 24 when the prison rape occurred, right? Inmate Enriquez. Yes.
Definition: degree of violence, level of force.
Presiding Commissioner Barton. Okay. And the next thing is the degree of violence or involvement. So as unpleasant as this is, in the gang rape, you've described it, at least in your last 2 hearings as sort of perfunctorily, you guys saw one of your fellow gang members raping a young lady or having sex with her. You all decided you were all wanting to have sex with her, took her to a park, and that's what proceeded to happen, correct? Inmate Enriquez. Yes. Presiding Commissioner Barton. Did you know this young lady beforehand? Inmate Enriquez. No. She was, I had not known her. She was like a peripheral, gang member. I didn't know her personally. Presiding Commissioner Barton. How old was she? Inmate Enriquez. She was 19, I believe. Presiding Commissioner Barton. Yeah, how many of you were involved? Inmate Enriquez. Just 2 of us other than the guy she was, engaging in the activity with at first, but that was consensual between her and the first guy. Presiding Commissioner Barton. Well, did he consent to you guys being involved? Inmate Enriquez. He was nervous. I don't think he gave consent. No, he was just nervous because we were there. Once we started committing the act, he didn't object, but I think it was because he was intimidated and afraid because we were gang members. Presiding Commissioner Barton. Okay. Well, I assume that if she knew, because she was part of the gang, then she knew he wasn't going to help her. Inmate Enriquez. No, she wasn't a part of the gang. She was a peripheral I don't know how to. Presiding Commissioner Barton. Like a groupie kind of thing.
Definition: co-defendant, someone who is being accused along with you.
Inmate Enriquez. Like a hangout girl. And then I just saw her there with another gang member. And you could tell by her girl, that she was like a wannabe, but she wasn't a part of our gang. And I'm not trying to say that. Presiding Commissioner Barton. So what motivated you and your second co-defendant? Inmate Enriquez. I think it was just opportunity. That day, none of us planned to do it. I certainly didn't plan to do it. It wasn't something that I had thought about prior to this. It just occurred. Presiding Commissioner Barton. Well, were you high or drunk at the time?
Definition: PCP, phencyclidine, an illegal drug.
Inmate Enriquez. Oh, certainly. We had used PCP and we were drinking. Everybody was loaded on drugs, all the participants. But we were certainly high. I was certainly high. Presiding Commissioner Barton, so did the two of you talk about it? Inmate Enriquez, very briefly. The other guy his name was Ronnie Chavez. I said let's go to the park with her, and he says okay, and we got in the car. He says hey, give us a ride to the park. And once we got to the park, we raped her.
Two definitions. Definition 1, instigating it, starting it. Definition 2, I'm trying to figure out, I am trying to discover.
Presiding Commissioner Barton, okay. But that's, again, generic. I'm trying to figure out whether you were instigating it, whether you were did you use a weapon? Inmate Enriquez, no, there were no weapons involved. Presiding Commissioner Barton, were there threats? Inmate Enriquez, there were no threats to harm anybody, it's just we were there. Presiding Commissioner Barton, did she say no? Inmate Enriquez, she said no, yes, she said no. Presiding Commissioner Barton, and then? Inmate Enriquez, it began as her being with the other guy. And then we told her to get in the back seat. She said no, and we forced her into the back seat and we forced her into sex. Presiding Commissioner Barton, okay, so there was force. You don't consider that threatening? Inmate Enriquez, yes, I do. Presiding Commissioner Barton, well, a minute ago you said there wasn't any threat. Inmate Enriquez, I thought you meant like, hey, do this or we're going to kill you. I guess there was. Presiding Commissioner Barton, I think that's implied. Inmate Enriquez, we were gang members, we were intimidating figures. I believe that, yes. The implied threat was there. Presiding Commissioner Barton, well, as soon as, whether you're gang members or not, as soon as a woman says no, or for that matter, anybody says no, and the other person then physically forces them, there's threat implied. You don't comply and the force is going to get greater. You've been in therapy for how many years? Inmate Enriquez, about 4 years. Presiding Commissioner Barton, and you never did an empathetic exercise of what these victims of your rapes went through. Inmate Enriquez, we never did the sex offender therapy. We've talked about it multiple times more along the lines of my sexual abuse and how I dealt with the resulting behaviors. I had talked recently with, the doctor, and I suggested to my attorney that, quite possibly entering into CCCMS for continued and real therapy, because, Ironwood does not offer, real therapy. Presiding Commissioner Barton, have you ever heard of the program, the Lighthouse Program, Pathways? Inmate Enriquez, I have not. Presiding Commissioner Barton, and they're psychologists in the Bay Area, and they actually, it's a pretty dynamic program in that there's, constant back and forth and feedback on the assignments that are given to sex offenders. Inmate Enriquez, I have not heard of that program. Presiding Commissioner Barton, well, I think your attorney may have, but I've certainly heard of it. And it's it they presented to the board before. I've had many sex offenders who have gone through it with positive, insight being gained from it. And it concerns me because, the last board basically said, well, we think you figured out the hurt people. You got abused, you wanted power and control. They went down that hole, which is not an invalid way of looking at rape. But it seems to me at 17, it probably was for sexual gratification as much as it was for power and control. Because I got to tell you, I look at your two sex offense as very different. Have you talked to anybody about that? Inmate Enriquez, I've talked to the psychologist about it. And that what he said was this is the pattern of behavior replication, that because you were victimized in the past that you continued this behavior, even knowing it was wrong, that you identified with the aggressor, even though you knew it was wrong.
Definition. Milieu setting.
Presiding Commissioner Barton, but that could apply to being a batterer. That could apply to being a murderer. That could apply to a lot of things. I'm talking about in the milieu of sexual offending, one is 17-year-old turned on by watching somebody else have sex, decides I'm going to get some too, him and his buddy going wants this girl to do it. which means, number 1, how do you have to view her? Inmate Enriquez, is that a question, sir? Presiding Commissioner Barton? Yep, that is a question. How do you view her if you? Inmate Enriquez, I obviously objectified her. I demeaned her. I looked at her as less than human, at that time. I don't feel that way now, but at the time, obviously, that's what I thought.
Definition: sex act, sexual behavior.
Presiding Commissioner Barton? Well, obviously or not obviously, but that's what I'm trying to figure out. So if you see her as a piece of meat for your sexual gratification, and to an extent your power trip, because oftentimes rape isn't about sex, but I'm assuming, maybe I shouldn't, maybe I'll just ask you, were you able to complete the sex act? Were you able to have an orgasm, maintain an erection? Inmate Enriquez, yes. Presiding Commissioner Barton, even though she was fearful and crying. Inmate Enriquez, yes, but yes. Presiding Commissioner Barton, and even though you knew it was against her will. Inmate Enriquez, yes.
Definition: arouse you, excite you.
Presiding Commissioner Barton, and did any of that arouse you, the fact that she was fearful and crying? Inmate Enriquez, no, I wasn't aroused by that. I was taken aback by it, but it didn't stop me. Presiding Commissioner Barton, okay, and then was your partner before or after you? Inmate Enriquez, he was before. Presiding Commissioner Barton, okay, did you hold her? Did you help hold her down or force her in the back while he did the act himself? Inmate Enriquez, no, not at all. Presiding Commissioner Barton, were you standing nearby? Inmate Enriquez, I was standing outside the car of the open door. Presiding Commissioner Barton, so she gets away from him, she's still got to go through you. Inmate Enriquez, yes. Presiding Commissioner Barton. Again, people that I've seen who have done a good job of assessing, their sex offenses, do this exercise where they put themselves in the part of the victim and look at everything from that person's perspective. Doesn't sound like you've done that, but you have to imagine that if someone's in that situation and they might think they could fight off one guy, but then they've got a guy standing at the door. That's obviously added fear, added implication of force, right?
2 definitions. Definition 1: passive participant, person not actively involved. Definition 2: observer, viewer.
Inmate Enriquez, yes, it is. Presiding Commissioner Barton, but you saw yourself as just standing by as a passive participant or observer at that point.
3 definitions. Definition 1: ready participant, person eagerly involved. Definition 2: impacted, affected. Definition 3: reoffending, committing the crime again.
Inmate Enriquez, no, I wasn't a passive observer at that point. I was a ready participant. And I did, however, in the inside of the sexual reoffending and sexual reoffending relapse prevention plan, considered some of the things how the victim was impacted when I wrote about it. Not to the degree that you're speaking, but I did write on that in the paper that I submitted, which was about 20 pages that I've wrote about sexual offending, my insight into it, why I believe it occurred and how it impacted the victim.
3 definitions. Definition 1: esoteric exercise, abstract idea. Definition 2: protective factors, things that decrease risk. Definition 3: esoteric, understood only by a few.
Presiding Commissioner Barton, well, and I saw your writing about how it potentially impacted her afterwards. I'm talking about the trauma of the event itself, and here's why I asked this question. I don't want you to think that we're just doing some esoteric exercise. Okay? When we look at sex offenders, we look at things that can be protective factors. One of which is degree of harm. And the way we judge whether someone understands the degree of harm is not just how do you impact their life afterwards, but what they were feeling, what they were experiencing at the time that this was happening to them. That's the part that I saw missing in the stuff that you wrote, other than she was afraid. That's pretty generic. But I'm trying to point out to you, like even when we have the discussion about force, I had to walk you down that road that, yeah, that's an implied threat. Go along or you're going to get hurt. And what's her boyfriend, or I don't know about her boyfriend, but the guy that she was with, what's he doing during all this? Inmate, ENRIQEZ, he's just standing off to one side. He was just standing off to one side. Presiding Commissioner BARTON, never said stop to you guys, nothing like that. Inmate, ENRIQEZ, nothing. Presiding Commissioner BARTON, okay, how do you think he felt if he actually had feelings for this girl? Inmate, ENRIQEZ, humiliated, afraid, intimidated, fear for his life. Presiding Commissioner BARTON, couldn't do anything to help her. Inmate, ENRIQEZ, couldn't do anything to help her, impotent, ashamed that he couldn't help her. Presiding Commissioner BARTON, now, why would he go along with it? What were you to him? Because you were only 17. Inmate, ENRIQEZ, a gang member. He was like another peripheral gang member. He wasn't as deeply involved as we were. And I think he knew that. Presiding Commissioner BARTON. So he was still trying to gain respect, or something with the gang, so going along with this was going to help him with that, or what? Inmate, ENRIQEZ, I think he was just afraid of us. I don't think that it was any part of acceptance. I don't think there was anything to do with that. He was just afraid of us. He was afraid to speak up. Presiding Commissioner BARTON. Well, and afterwards when the cops came after you for it, what happened to him? Inmate, ENRIQEZ, he wasn't charged, he was released. Presiding Commissioner BARTON. No, I'm not talking about what the police did. Inmate, ENRIQEZ, oh, nothing at all, he was never targeted. Nothing, no retaliation against him at all. Presiding Commissioner BARTON, did he ever tell? Inmate, ENRIQEZ, he didn't go to court. I believe he made a statement in the initial police report and, nothing happened to him. We didn't seek retaliation against him. None of that. Presiding Commissioner BARTON. Well, how were the two of you viewed after committing the rape? Was that something acknowledged by the gang, frowned upon, praised because your actions, or what? Inmate, ENRIQEZ, it was frowned upon. I mean, it was a sex offense. It didn't have the stigma that it has today back in prison. But still, even then when I went to prison, the members knew about my sex offense, but it was like, this is a bad thing. It's a horrible thing, it was still frowned upon. I was still ashamed of it, I still am ashamed of it today. It wasn't, go ahead, I'm sorry. Presiding Commissioner BARTON, okay. Well, you answered the question. But do you see now, because we're going to talk about the second instance, why I view them differently? Inmate, ENRIQEZ, yes, I do. Presiding Commissioner BARTON, yeah. Because the second one was all about the gang and was all about a way of, again, enforcing gang power. So tell me about the second one in prison.
Definition: orally copulate, forcing someone to have oral sex.
Inmate, ENRIQEZ, the second one occurred, we were drinking that day, and we were going to go rob this individual. We're going to go get his TV and his, fan, and it started out that way. But one individual went into the cell and, initiated sexual contact with him. The guy I saw participate as well, but it was, power and control. I was a Mexican Mafia member at the time. He had, initially refused to give us his property, and then this occurred and he gave up everything. He gave up all his property. So both of us, Presiding Commissioner BARTON, was to orally copulate you, right? Inmate, ENRIQEZ, yes. Presiding Commissioner BARTON, and the first guy that went in there and told him he was going to do it, or else what? Inmate, ENRIQEZ, he would be hurt. He would be harmed. I didn't hear those words, but I'm certain that was uttered. That was just the implication. My physical presence alone was a threat. I was a member going to the house of a Shornio, demanding sex, so this is an implied threat. Presiding Commissioner BARTON, and what did this guy do to you guys to deserve that? Inmate, ENRIQEZ, absolutely nothing. I think it was just, we wanted his TV and his fan.
Two definitions. Definition 1: parsing the motives, analyzing the motivations. Definition 2. Subjugation control.
Presiding Commissioner Barton. Okay. But you're parsing the motives here. I'm trying to get at why it was okay to force him and what was the purpose of that subjugation, the oral copulation. Inmate Enriquez, to dominate him. Presiding Commissioner Barton. You forced him, you're going to force him to give you the property just by telling him we're going to hurt you if you don't. You don't have to have force and to orally copulate you. Inmate Enriquez, to strip him of his dignity, to dominate him, to exert power over him. That was the motivation. At the time, I didn't realize that. It was just, okay, I'm going to do this. I'm going to receive sexual gratification as well as robbing him. But a deeper introspection and understanding, what occurred, this is an attempt to humiliate him, demean him and shame him because he initially refused us. Presiding Commissioner Barton? Right, and now you're 24 years old. You're in prison. Had you ever forced someone to orally copulate you prior to that? Inmate Enriquez. In the rape, yes, on the streets, but not in prison.
Definition: heterosexual, sexually attracted to people of the opposite sex.
Presiding Commissioner Barton. I'm talking about a male. Because you identify as heterosexual, always have, right? Inmate Enriquez. Yes. Presiding Commissioner Barton. So how was this sexually gratifying then?
Definition: homosexuality, sexual attraction to people of the same sex.
Inmate Enriquez. It was sexually gratifying, but I had never forced anybody, prior to this, into, that act. But it was gratifying. I was able to. Presiding Commissioner Barton. Well, physiologically. I'm talking more about what's going on in your head. Most, heterosexual males certainly if homosexuality back then, and I'm pretty sure back then in '86 would have been frowned upon, the only way it's accepted is because you used it as a weapon. Inmate Enriquez. Homosexuality was pretty much accepted in prison subculture at the time, particularly Mexican Mafia. And the definition, which is really twisted, and I understand this by explaining it to you, of being a homosexual was providing sexual favor or receiving sexual favor. And being the recipient of sexual favor was considered socially acceptable at the time. So, it wasn't the stigma, that you think it was. It was, because all Mexican Mafia members had, some type of sexual partner at that point in time or had, which is not a justification or a minimization. Presiding Commissioner Barton? Right. But you're talking more about someone who's a sex slave, not necessarily a partner that they're going to live their life with as homosexuals, right? Inmate Enriquez. Yes. Presiding Commissioner Barton. You're talking about somebody that's being used simply for the physiological gratification that oral copulation will give them, right? Inmate Enriquez. Yes. Presiding Commissioner Barton. Right. So what I'm saying is, in this case, this wasn't anything close to consensual, right? Inmate Enriquez. Right.
Definition: pumped maid.
Presiding Commissioner Barton. And if you had allowed someone to do this to you, what would your status in the gang had been if you allowed yourself to be pumped? Inmate Enriquez. I would have been killed. Presiding Commissioner Barton. Yeah, but it was okay for you to do it to this Shornio. Inmate Enriquez. In the eyes of the organization, it was, but I know that it was wrong. Presiding Commissioner Barton. So again, what do you think that person felt? Inmate Enriquez. Humiliation, extreme fear, intimidation, terror, confusion. All of these things. Presiding Commissioner Barton. Do you know what happened to that person eventually?
Definition: protective custody, segregation in prison for safety.
Inmate Enriquez. He entered protective custody and then was transferred to another prison. Presiding Commissioner Barton. So there's that too, right? Inmate Enriquez. Yes.
Definition: disrupts his ability, interferes with his capacity.
Presiding Commissioner Barton. I mean, it disrupts his ability to serve his sentence in any kind of way on any terms that he chooses. Inmate Enriquez, it does, and it disrupted his entire life. It ruined his entire life. I mean, in terms of being a prisoner, it put a black mark on him. He was seen as being victimized, as the victim of a sexual assault. It devastated him. Presiding Commissioner Barton. So what kind of amends, if any, can you make for these sex offenses?
4 definitions. Definition 1, psych notes, psychological evaluations. Definition 2, sex abuse survivors, people who experience sexual assault. Definition 3, dynamics, forces. Definition 4, dynamics, reasons.
Inmate Enriquez. One of the things I do now in our small groups is talk about sexual abuse, and I'm pretty open about my sex offenses. I'm pretty open about my history. And I suggest the guys go to therapy and write about the dynamics that drove them to participate in these behaviors, particularly, sex offenders. In one of the, psych notes that I submitted to the board, I asked that we start a group for sex offenders and sex abuse survivors. That's one of the things I wanted to do here because no group exists at this prison. Presiding Commissioner Barton, is that the VIEW, VIEW? Is that your group?
Definition: empathy, understanding.
Inmate Enriquez. Yeah, VIEW, victims impact, empathy, victims impact empathy workshop. Presiding Commissioner Barton, yeah.
Definition: fruition, realization.
Inmate Enriquez. But there's another, a Dr. Pressler that was seeing me and where he wanted to start a group with all the other victims who had sex offenses who were sexually abused. And I talked to him about how we evaluate our own abuse contributed to our becoming sex offenders. And, we're still in the process of trying to make this workshop, come about here at the prison. But I really want to participate in this if it comes to fruition, because the avenue doesn't exist right now. Presiding Commissioner Barton, you said in both these cases there was substance abuse occurring with you. Would you have done these things even if you were sober?
Definition: underlying basic.
Inmate Enriquez. Yes, I think I would have. I think that I was damaged and I was hurt and I wanted to hurt other people. And just as with my murder, if it hadn't have been these individuals, Cynthia Gavaldon and David Gallegos, it would have been somebody else. I think the difference is an underlying, part of my psyche that was going to emerge at some point. And regardless of the substance abuse, it was there. Those dynamics were there. That die was cast. Presiding Commissioner Barton. So you're sort of not making the governor's point, but I guess making my point. And that is, even if you've got control, it sounds like you've done the right programming for recovery. That doesn't necessarily then lessen the risk as indicated in the risk assessment for sex reoffending, because you would have done those things even if you were not on drugs or alcohol. Fair. Inmate Enriquez. At the time, yes, I still would have done them. Now, no, absolutely not. I wouldn't harm. Presiding Commissioner Barton, you wouldn't do them at all. Inmate Enriquez, I beg your pardon. Presiding Commissioner Barton, I said now I would hope it wouldn't matter. You wouldn't do them whether you were high, drunk, or sober. Inmate Enriquez, no, I wouldn't do them. I wouldn't get high, I wouldn't get drunk, and I wouldn't harm another individual. But then at the time, yes. The assessment for my risk at the time certainly, it's profound. I was a horrible human being who made horrible decisions that impacted so many people on so many different levels and continued to impact them. I understand that. That's accurate. But I don't believe that reflects who I am today. Presiding Commissioner Barton, so as far as you said you were confused. Like I said, I think, at least my reading of reversal letters that the governor's written in your case, this latest one seemed to have seized on those sex offender risks and, insight into these issues. And here's what it indicates. Let's see. I'm trying to find the exact wording in your risk assessment because I don't want to misquote it. Sometimes when I have relied upon the governor's letters, to to say that sometimes things get slightly out of context or slightly misquoted. So without saying anything further along those lines, but when you read your risk assessment by Dr. Chan, so the most recent one, sorry, I'll switch my notes around here to bring it back up, that strike you as being different than any of the prior sex assessments. Inmate Enriquez, you were breaking up a little bit, sir. Presiding Commissioner Barton. Okay. When you read Dr. Chan's CRA, the portion about your risk for sex offending, did you see anything you felt was different than prior risk assessments?
2 definitions. Definition 1, propensity, inclination. Definition 2, immutable, unchangeable.
Inmate Enriquez. The prior risk assessment had me as above average as well. Other than her stating that, because I explained to her that I had identified with the aggressor, and some of the dynamics because I was abused, I became a sexual offender, she said was unrealistic. But that's how I've been taught. That's all the research that I've done, is that a high propensity of, individuals, a high number of individuals who sexually offend become sexual offenders. But the caveat was that, in her CRA, she said that whatever I understand the dynamics that drove my behavior and seem to have been able to make progress. I'm paraphrasing, obviously. But either the previous, assessment for the static 99 was above average as well. So it didn't stray that far from the last, assessment. And to my understanding, that will never change. That assessment will never change because it's based on status factors. And I can't, those are immutable. I can't change those. Those are the issues that existed. Presiding Commissioner Barton, and I'm not talking about the number. You're right, it's static. I'm talking about the insight into the sex offending. I'm talking about the empathy for the victims. I'm talking about programming to address that. Because even though you're almost 60, you and I are almost, I'm a little older than you, but it's not like you've lost your sex drive. And to read you were in a situation where you wanted to exert power and control over someone, you could still use sex as a weapon, right? I mean, you're not impotent. Inmate Enriquez, I beg your pardon. Presiding Commissioner Barton, you're not impotent.
4 definitions. Definition 1, erectile dysfunction condition. Definition 2, BPH, benign prostate hyperplasia. Definition 3, affect my ability, change my. Definition 4, BPH, prostate disease.
Inmate Enriquez, I do have, actual erectile dysfunction, and it was part of my medical history. I have BPH, and I just went for medications that affect my ability to, maintain an erection.
Definition, physiologic response, body reaction.
Presiding Commissioner Barton, okay, so that's the physiologic response. Inmate Enriquez, that's physiological, yes. But I believe that I have insight. I've taken, victim awareness and, I've studied and written extensively on victim impact. And I understand the dynamics, the physiological, the psychological, the social, the financial, and the social impacts that it has on victims, particularly these events. It's never been discussed this in depth by a commissioner before. This issue has never been discussed in this manner in a previous panel. Had I known this today, I would have written extensively on this issue. Based on my, understanding of what I have written about victim impact. Presiding Commissioner Barton, I've read what you wrote and that's what's in part informing. Trust me, Ms. Shepard will assure you I've read all of your file. Inaudible, I mean, she's had case with me before. I read your entire file. Inmate Enriquez, I have written and I'm sorry, I interrupted you. I'm sorry. Presiding Commissioner Barton, go ahead. Inmate Enriquez, but I hadn't written extensively on victim impact. I've participated in numerous workshops. Numerous? Presiding Commissioner Barton, which is why it surprised me when I asked you about the victim in the car that you hadn't put yourself in her position. Inmate Enriquez, when you asked about the force. You said if you used force, I said I didn't use any force. I thought you were talking about a weapon, but the implied force, obviously. Our presence was intimidation, force and threat just in and of itself. We're gang members. And if we weren't in that situation, it still would have been interpreted by a normal, rational individual that this was a threat. Presiding Commissioner Barton, what did you do with her when you were done? Inmate Enriquez, then we were pulled over. We're arrested. That one of the driver of my co-defendant was swerving on the highway because we were intoxicated and the CHP pulled us over. We're arrested right then. Presiding Commissioner Barton, and that's when she told the police what happened. Inmate Enriquez, yes. Presiding Commissioner Barton, what were you planning to do with her? Inmate Enriquez, we were planning to go to Whittier Boulevard to go cruising. Presiding Commissioner Barton, and then what? Inmate Enriquez, there were no plans thereafter. It was just like, let's go to the boulevard and cruise. This was a place where. Presiding Commissioner Barton, rape this girl, she's in the back of the car. You weren't planning on doing anything else to her. Inmate Enriquez, no, you mean like harming her or something like that? No, not at all. Presiding Commissioner Barton, shipping her around, anything like that? Gangs do that. Inmate Enriquez, no, there were no plans at that time. I mean, we were just impulsive and we're thinking this through rationally. I know I was high and there wasn't a long-term plan to okay, after this, we're going to do this. Presiding Commissioner Barton, well, I mean, you didn't let her go. You didn't let her go when you drove off. Inmate Enriquez, inaudible greater than, so obviously we took. Presiding Commissioner Barton, so what? You guys are gang members. Do you care whose car it is? You're going to take the car if you want the car. Inmate Enriquez, I was going to say that. We took her car so she was in the car. And we just planned to go to the boulevard. There was no plans past that. I'm sure something would have came up. We would have decided to drop her off, take her car, or get out of the car and abandon it. We would have decided something. But at that time, there were no future plans. Presiding Commissioner Barton, can we agree she wasn't going to be treated nicely after that? Inmate Enriquez, she wasn't going to be harmed beyond the harm that was already done to her. Inaudible greater than, but yeah, she wasn't going to be treated. Deputy Commissioner Castro, I'm sorry. Commissioner, can you hear me? Inmate Enriquez, take her car. Deputy Commissioner Castro, I couldn't hear him and that his answer didn't come through. All right. Presiding Commissioner Barton, so he was going along with everything. Deputy Commissioner Castro, hold on. Commissioner, can you hear me? Commissioner. Presiding Commissioner Barton, now you're breaking up. Deputy Commissioner Castro, can you hear me? Commissioner? No. Presiding Commissioner Barton, you're breaking. Deputy Commissioner Castro, okay, we need a timeout. Presiding Commissioner Barton, okay, we're going to recess and let the Deputy Commissioner now log off and log back in. So we're off the record, everyone. We're taking a few minutes. Recess. Deputy Commissioner Castro, all right, back on the record. Inmate Enriquez, you asked me. Presiding Commissioner Barton, I need to set the record. Hang on, Mr. Enriquez, we're back on the record. We had a brief recess or break in the tape, for Commissioner Castro to log back in. He was having problems with his connection. That happened when I was asking you, what do you think was going to happen to her that night if you hadn't been pulled over? And I think I said something like, can we agree it wasn't going to be nice? And now you go ahead and answer. Inmate Enriquez, yeah, we can agree that nothing nice was going to happen to her. I don't think that any further violence was going to be committed to her. We were probably going to take her car and dump her and the other guy off, but she wasn't going to be murdered or anything like that. Presiding Commissioner Barton, right, but she was going to be somebody, if she didn't go to the cops, could be used any time in the future. Inmate Enriquez, I'm not sure that we were going to see her again after that. Presiding Commissioner Barton, well, maybe not, but my understanding of gang culture is there are some females that are used purely for sex. Inmate ENRIQZ. That's a common occurrence in gangs. Presiding Commissioner BARTON. Yeah. So if she'd been raped once and not gone to the police, my assumption would be that she'd be fair game in the future. Inmate ENRIQZ. That's possible, sir. Presiding Commissioner BARTON. And did you ever have any other similar involvement with gang members? Or, females that were hanging around the gang where you demanded sex whether they wanted it or not? Inmate ENRIQZ. No, sir. Presiding Commissioner BARTON. All right. I'm going to turn over to the Deputy Commissioner. I don't know. There's been a whole lot that's happened in the last year, but he's going to try to determine what has happened post-conviction since your last hearing. Since we do incorporate by reference all your prior programming, all of your prior educational, vocational work history, all of it's well documented, not only in the file, but in the last 3, transcripts. So what we're really trying to do is fill in any gaps since your last hearing. Okay? So if we don't talk about everything you've done in your background, that's why. Inmate ENRIQZ. Okay. Presiding Commissioner BARTON. Okay. Go ahead, Commissioner. Deputy Commissioner Castro. Thank you. Good morning, sir. I do have one question, about pre-conviction before we get to post-conviction matters. You indicated you probably would have done it, the 2 sex crimes, even if you were sober because the dynamics were there. But what about if you were by yourself? Would you have done these things, these sex crimes by yourself? Inmate ENRIQZ. I think that at some level, yes. I think that I would have participated in sex, a sex offense at some point in my life. Yes, I think I would have. Deputy Commissioner Castro. These two events that the Commissioner covered with you, the girl and the prisoner. If you were by yourself, if you had not been accompanied by other gang members, would you have done them? Presiding Commissioner BARTON. You have to take. Inmate ENRIQZ. Oh, these 2 events. Presiding Commissioner BARTON. Context. He's asking you to say, if you came across this girl just as you knew her and maybe were given her a ride home and decided I want to have sex with her, would you have raped her on your own? If you wanted to rob this individual inmate and didn't have the help of another gang member, would you have gone in and forced oral cop on your own? That's what he's asking you to do, is change the context slightly so that you're by yourself. Inmate ENRIQZ. I think that negative peer influences had impact on some of my decisions, but I won't minimize my responsibility because all the dynamics were there, being abused and being exposed to incest. I think these played heavily as to the person I became and my motivations for participating in these types of behaviors in the future. So I think that yes, I would have participated in them. But I think also the peer influence had something to do with my participation in these crimes. Deputy Commissioner Castro. All right. Like the Commissioner said, we've read everything you've turned in your whole record. I did note that since the last hearing, which was in May of 2020, you did participate in college. You got 9 credits between 2020 and 2021. You participated in e-learning in March and April of 2021. You've worked as a clerk and as a recycle crew as well. You got satisfactory reports from that. The only self-help that I saw that was official was parenting in 2020. But you said you've been in therapy, correct? Inmate ENRIQZ? Yeah. There's we submitted progress notes and I am enrolled in CGA right now. I've been enrolled for years. I attend, in CGA.
6 definitions. Definition 1, ISUD, Integrated Substance Use Disorder Treatment. Definition 2, Suboxone, medication to treat opioid use disorder. Definition 3, dysfunctional, unable to function. Definition 4, cognitive errors, problems with thinking. Definition 5, emotional intelligence, awareness of one's own emotions. Definition 6, coping skills, anger management.
Deputy Commissioner Castro. Right. All right. So I'm going to ask you general questions because you've written about all your triggers and your coping skills. But just generally speaking, what are your best or the most, significant coping skills that you have to deal with any of these issues that have, impacted your life? Whether it's gang, substance abuse, sex offenses? What are your best coping skills? Inmate ENRIQZ. I think remove myself from the situation immediately. That's one of it's inaudible greater than, it works in all kinds of situations. When there's a confrontation, when you're angry, when there's drugs present, remove yourself from the situation immediately, and then assess, the consequences of your actions. I think, inaudible greater than stop, think of consequences then, it's a huge thing for me. I mean, if I get myself a second to think I take the moment to think this is not worth it. Or, another one is, simply, meditating. You know, one of the things I do is pray, or to stop thought process, even when the negative thoughts pop in your head. You know, I know that because I had been in recovery for a long time, and I've been sober for a long time, that the character defects are always going to be there. So some of the negative thinking is going to pop up. Those automatic negative thoughts or the cognitive errors. And I can go through the stop thought process. Like stop, just change it. I got to go do this. I got to go work out. Stop thinking about it. Stop ruminating on the anger that the guy evoked from you or that you're feeling right now. Stop. You know, that just using a little bit of emotional intelligence for me is another. A good tool for avoiding, anger and confrontation. You know, just the other day when I was working as a clerk in the position as a clerk, the block, it flooded. It completely flooded. There was a monsoon storm. And a guy came out in the morning. He wasn't a porter. And he says, hey, they told me I can volunteer. The cops told me I can volunteer. And, I was the clerk, so I was kind of the lead guy. And I told him, well, the officer hasn't told me anything. So unless he tells me, I can't give you tools. And he told me F you, just like that. F you, and I looked at him, because it was just out of the blue and I told him okay. And I removed myself from the situation. So just that, I mean, I can't tell you the number of times I thought, man, I should tell that guy something. I should tell him, I said negative thought that was popping in my head, that cognitive distortion that he disrespected me. And I just used that stop thought process until it just abated. And, now he came up and apologized to me a couple months later. And, I'm okay with it. You know, I know how to cope with some of these, but that, and, prayer, remove myself from the situation, thinking of the consequences. I mean, I have a ton of coping tools and I use most of them on a regular basis, exercising, music, praying, meditation. But removing myself from the situation. And particularly now, I'm in the ISUDT, building where the guys take this strip of Suboxone and it is everywhere. These guys sell it. They give it away. They offer it. They offer it to me all the time. And that is the one tool I use all the time. I know that I'm going to be faced with this on the streets as well. There's going to be people who are my coworkers. There's going to be people who are dysfunctional. Sometimes I'm not going to be able to remove myself from the situation, so I use the other coping tools that I have. And thankfully, I have been able to avoid, antisocial behaviors just using these relapse prevention plans and my coping skills. Presiding Commissioner Barton, let me ask you a question about that, because you just said you're able to avoid antisocial behaviors. What do you do when you're offered Suboxone? You know it's wrong.
2 definitions. Definition 1, yard informant, prison snitch. Definition 2, fabric of our rehabilitative community, the supportive environment.
Inmate, ENRIQEZ. I tell them I don't offer me nothing. I don't want nothing. I'm not going to pass nothing for you. You know, on multiple occasions, I've given this information to the CDC officers or the ISU. I meet with the ISU regularly and I'll provide that information to individuals who are trafficking. I'm not a yard informant by any stretch of the imagination, but the one thing that I don't want is individuals to, destroy the fabric of our rehabilitative community. And because we have to live with them doesn't mean we have to condone that behavior, because I mean, quite frankly, it's pretty destructive.
3 definitions. Definition 1, the whole, solitary confinement. Definition 2, warped, twisted. Definition 3, celly, cellmate.
Presiding Commissioner Barton. Well, and not only that, what strikes me as really warped about inmate thinking is guy could have a cellie who's a heroin addict and he says, man, I love my cellie. I'd, go fight with me for my cellie. I'd, keep his heroin secret, but he wouldn't care if the guy ODs. Now it's usually that he does. It's not that he doesn't care, but he doesn't have the insight to realize that by allowing this guy and he continue his heroin use, there's no quality control and the guy could OD. So by telling on him, you're actually probably helping save his life. Can't tell you how many inaudibles said, "I got clean because I was in the hole and then I straightened up. And now I'm grateful somebody told on me." So to not tell is not a prosocial behavior. Inmate Enriquez, I am a firm believer in that. It's one of the things that we teach in our groups is that, look, we have been ingrained with this don't snitch attitude, right? But what if somebody kidnapped your son, your grandson, harms your grandmother? What's the first thing you're going to do when you're out there? You're going to call the police. You're not going to say, "Hey, I'm going to wait for the homeboys to retaliate for me." It's so ridiculous and ludicrous. And it takes so long to get past that negative ingrained belief pattern that you can't tell. Look, we have a good community. We have a rehabilitative community of guys that follow the rules, and we don't want guys in there breaking as breaking the rules would alarm around us. We surround ourselves with individuals who participate in positive stuff. And that's where my circle is. Presiding Commissioner Barton. And back to my question then. If somebody actually came up to you trying to traffic in Suboxone, you're telling us that you would tell the cops so that person got straightened up. Inmate Enriquez, I had many times. Presiding Commissioner Barton, all right, go ahead, Commissioner. Deputy Commissioner Castro, are you vulnerable to a relapse in any of these areas? Inmate Enriquez, oh, I'm always vulnerable to relapse. I mean, recovery is a daily process. I think that if you don't, adhere to utilizing your relapse prevention plans and your coping skills on a regular basis, recovery is a daily event. It's not just because I've been sober 17 years, 16 years, I got it licked. No, I don't look at it this way. So I think that the recovery is a continuous work, as I had to remain hypervigilant in terms of my recovery, because that's always been, for me, the weakness is the substance abuse. So relapsing to anger and the criminal thinking and get money quick schemes, and so I have to be proactive. I'm always vulnerable to relapse. Deputy Commissioner Castro, do you foresee any differences in maintaining your sobriety out in the community as compared to maintaining your sobriety within the prison? Inmate Enriquez, no, I think there'll be certain stressors. There'll be a lot of things that they're unplanned for that no relapse prevention plan can prepare for. But on the other hand, I'll have access to resources that aren't available here. I'll have the internet. I'll have instantaneous communication with my parole agent and my law enforcement handlers. I'll have daily supervision by individuals that are there to protect me. I'll have a support group that I can go to it at any time. I have one here, but it's going to be bigger and it's going to have doctors in it and therapists. And so there'll be challenges. I mean, everybody's going to face challenges. I think normal individuals who don't have substance abuse problems, they face challenges every day. And I know things that are not all going to go my way. I'm prepared for that. And I know there's going to be big stress after such a long period of incarceration, but I'm prepared for that also. I'm resilient. I'll have the resources and support team necessary for me, so I think I'll be okay. Deputy Commissioner Castro, do you think you'll have more triggers out in the community? Inmate Enriquez, I think there'll be some triggers that I haven't planned for, but once I recognize something as a trigger or recognize some warning signs or the negative thinking kicks in, I've been training myself to recognize some of these. So once they happen or once they expose themselves, I'll address them immediately. I'll attend a meeting immediately. I'll contact my therapist immediately. Or if I have to, go straight to my parole officer and say, I want to talk to you about this. But I think that's going to be the primary person that has the most interest in keeping me out there. That's his job. He wants me to succeed out there. Deputy Commissioner Castro, have you thought about what your greatest risk factor or the greatest weaknesses for you going out in the community? Inmate Enriquez, I think my greatest risk factor, the greatest threat is thinking I could do it on my own, or I can handle too much, that I can do it all on my own because I've been an independent guy. I was a leader before. That arrogance that I had before, that is probably the biggest risk. And I know I can't do it on my own. I cannot do it. I've done it on my own my entire life, and look where it's led. Look at how many people have been hurt behind that. I tell myself that on a regular basis, you don't have to assume the weight of the world. I don't have to solve all the problems. There's help. I know how to acquire them. I know how to seek it out. So that's what I have to do. I have to stay vigilant on all fronts, because there's so many things that are going to face me out there. I know it's a huge thing after so many years, so many decades in prison, it's a huge thing. And then a lot of people are concerned, but I've evaluated this and I plan for it. And I've got the relapse prevention plans and the skills, and I think I've gained the insight to understand these things and be ready for it. Deputy Commissioner Castro, what's your understanding of what narcissism is?
3 definitions. Definition 1, manifested, displayed. Definition 2, addictive personality, person more prone to addictions. Definition 3, marginalize, treat a person as insignificant.
Inmate Enriquez. Narcissism is like, promoting yourself, putting yourself before others, disregarding the rights of others, being manipulative, not altruistic. That's narcissism. For me, I think that manifested when I was a kid. Nobody praised me. I was marginalized by my family, and abused by my family, so I began praising myself. And that became part of my addictive personality. That, antisocial personality with narcissistic features. I began seeking out attention. In gangs, I learned it immediately, the negative antisocial behavior. So I wanted that attention even if it was negative. And I just escalated up that all the way to the Mexican Mafia. And I rode it to the top because if I had more achievements in the Mafia, I gained more power. More power gave me more control, and that made me feel more secure. So I think that tied right into my antisocial behavior. And I rode it all the way to the top because I figured if nobody was going to give me a praise, I was going to do it for my own. Deputy Commissioner Castro. So you agree with psychologists that you have antisocial personality with narcissistic features? Inmate Enriquez. I do. Deputy Commissioner Castro. Do you, foresee any way that would be a problem for you, destabilize you in the community? Inmate Enriquez. No, I'll attend therapy. I think that, the antisocial personality and the narcissism is in remission. I think that I've done a lot to address it. I've done a lot of studies and independent writing and participant in therapy. And whether the board orders it or not, I'm going to participate in sex offender, therapy and therapy to address my antisocial behavior and my criminality. And I'll continue participation in my recovery for substance abuse, anger management. Therapy is going to be part of my life forever. So, I think that there is, no, it won't be an issue.
5 definitions. Definition 1, hypothetical scenario. Definition 2, foreman, person who supervises other workers. Definition 3, stockman, worker. Definition 4, warehouse, storehouse. Definition 5, circumventing the chain of authority, bypassing the chain of command.
Deputy Commissioner Castro, to show us your understanding of it, can you give us a hypothetical where your narcissism could get you in trouble? Narcissism? Inmate Enriquez. Let's say that hypothetical I'm at work and I'm doing a job well done. And I am not in a leadership position. I'm a stockman in a warehouse. And a foreman, sees this job that I'm doing and he gets a credit for my accomplishment, said that I'm saving the company money and he claims it to the owner of the company and doesn't give me credit for it and continues to do this. My narcissistic self want me to go on and say, hey boss, he's not doing it, I'm doing it, which is circumventing the chain of authority in my company. Regardless of who saved me the money, it's for the good of the company, not for me. And doing this by wanting the recognition from my employer might set me in bad standing with my foreman, which could cause for me to be laid off or even show the boss that I needed the attention or I needed the credit, and I wasn't interested in the good of the company, but more interested in promoting myself. That's my hypothetical.
2 definitions. Definition 1, laudatory chronos, commendation, a notice of favorable performance. Definition 2, violated any rules, did not follow any rules.
Deputy Commissioner Castro, all right, you continue to get laudatory chronos. There are several of those that we reviewed. You stayed disciplined-free since, 2005, actually. So that includes from the last hearing. You violated any rules since 2005 that went undetected. Inmate Enriquez, no. Deputy Commissioner Castro, and what's been your greatest challenge of staying discipline-free in prison? Inmate Enriquez, there are no challenges in staying disciplinary-free. I made a decision that I'm not getting a write-up, I'm not breaking the rules, because if I can't obey the rules of, the California Administrative Code, then I cannot follow the laws of society. That was a decision I made, and it's a decision I adhere to. Deputy Commissioner Castro, so you haven't had to use your anger management skills, any of your coping skills in prison since 2005. Inmate Enriquez, oh, regularly. I use those regularly. Like when the guy told me F you, I got angry. I used my coping skills. Deputy Commissioner Castro, so you've had some challenges, but you've used your coping skills. That's what you're telling me. Inmate Enriquez, there have been challenges, yeah, but I thought you meant about breaking the rules. But that was your question. What are the greatest challenges to breaking the rules been? Deputy Commissioner Castro, well, if you had punched the guy that said, fuck you, that would have been breaking the rule, right? Inmate Enriquez, oh, yeah. Deputy Commissioner Castro, okay, so that's what I'm talking about. That's what I'm talking about with discipline. Inmate Enriquez, oh, okay. I thought I'd have been like stealing or jumping on the phone when it's not your turn or something like that, you know? Yeah, I mean there's challenges. I mean every day there's challenges. Good Lord, I went to the store the other day and somebody took my spot, just walk right in front of me, took my spot. And certainly, I felt angry. It's 120 degrees out there and I'm waiting 2 hours. Now, I got to wait another hour for this guy because I got to go a whole new rotation. It's hard to accept these things. But anger is like secondary emotion, but everybody experiences it, right? And, the average individual that gets cut off on a freeway, may get upset, but they don't go and shoot at anybody or punch them in the mouth or round the car. I mean, some people do and they have issues with anger, but now I have the ability to, remove myself from the situation. Is that spot in store, worth everything I've worked for? I'm in the gate, all the gains I've made in my recovery, for 1 second of saying, you know what, F you too, boom. Or just the utilization of emotional intelligence. Oftentimes, guys will go over on your time and give them 15 minutes to talk on the phone, and guys will go over a few minutes. You'll tell them, hey, it's my time, get off the phone, and they'll turn their back on you and talk for 3 more minutes. Deputy Commissioner Castro, okay. Inmate Enriquez, that is, it's pretty rough, but you have to deal with it.
Definition. Mundo Ramon Mendoza.
Deputy Commissioner Castro, did you ask, Mundo to write you a letter? How'd that come about? Inmate Enriquez, yeah. Ramon Mendoza is a supporter of mine. He worked with the same publisher and, I asked him to write, and this year he wrote a letter on his own. Deputy Commissioner Castro, okay. Inmate Enriquez, I think him and Sergeant Valdemar did. Deputy Commissioner Castro, but you asked him initially? Inmate Enriquez, I can't hear you, sir. Deputy Commissioner Castro, you asked him initially. Inmate Enriquez, I asked him initially, yeah. Deputy Commissioner Castro, okay.
Definition. Ontario PD, Ontario Police Department.
Inmate Enriquez, we've been in touch since we did a conference, for Ontario PD in 2012, I believe it was. We did a conference together and we were training. Deputy Commissioner Castro, did you know him in prison? Inmate Enriquez, I did not know him beforehand. Deputy Commissioner Castro, okay. Inmate Enriquez, but he's a pastor now. Deputy Commissioner Castro, okay. Inmate Enriquez, he's been on for witness protection for years. He's living a great life. He's a positive and productive member of the community. He's one of my core support, members. Deputy Commissioner Castro, okay, all right. Thank you, I read your parole plans. They're extensive, all written out. I don't have any questions about that. All right. Back to you, Commissioner. Presiding Commissioner Barton, all right. Thank you. As I told you, I'm going to check, with you on elderly parole consideration as we're required to do in terms of physical condition. It says, and again, if you don't want to answer these questions, that's fine. But if you want to consider it, you have to affirm it or tell me what the debilitations are. It says currently suffer from Hep C, is that correct?
Definition. Yes.
Inmate Enriquez, yes, sir. Presiding Commissioner Barton, is that from the drug use?
Definition. Treatment therapy.
Inmate Enriquez, yes, but it's been resolved. I've taken the treatment. Presiding Commissioner Barton, yeah, so it doesn't impact you on a daily basis. Inmate Enriquez, number Presiding Commissioner Barton, says chronic back and shoulder pain. What's that about?
2 definitions. Definition 1, acromioplasty, shoulder surgery. Definition 2, arthritis, joint disease.
Inmate Enriquez, I've had surgery. I had acromioplasty on my back. I'm just getting old, I have arthritis. So I suffer from arthritis then. And my knees as well, I have, kind of severe arthritis in my knees, shoulder, and back. Presiding Commissioner Barton, is that what the braces you mentioned before were for, your knees? Inmate Enriquez, yeah. I got 2 braces that, for my left and right knee, and I'm scheduled for surgery, for my left knee. And then I have to have my right knee. I think it's time for an artificial titanium because I've already had 5 reconstructions on it. Presiding Commissioner Barton, okay. And then, but you can walk.
Definition. Chow hall, dining halls.
Inmate Enriquez, for short periods. I can't walk like miles. I can walk from here to the chow hall to the housing unit, stuff like that. Presiding Commissioner Barton, but you're not using a cane or a wheelchair or anything like that. Inmate Enriquez, no.
Definition. GERD, gastroesophageal reflux disease.
Presiding Commissioner Barton, and then it says you've got GERD. Gee, Artie, you know what that is. Inmate Enriquez,
Definition. Hypertension, high blood pressure.
Presiding Commissioner Barton, and hypertension, the high blood pressure you mentioned before. Inmate Enriquez, yes. Presiding Commissioner Barton, anything else, and then your hearing loss.
2 definitions. Definition 1, benign prostate hyperplasia, prostate enlargement. Definition 2, Eurolift, prostate procedure.
Inmate Enriquez, hearing loss, no further, medical issues. Presiding Commissioner Barton, okay, that's what I. Inmate Enriquez, the benign prostate hyperplasia. I've had that for years, and I don't want to do the surgery, the Eurolift, but I do have that, and that's, an issue that's progressively becoming worse and worse as I get older.
Definition. Physical violence, physical harm.
Presiding Commissioner Barton. Well, and what we're really looking at is things that are, debilitating, such as the knee and back issues, for example, to where you would be less likely to use physical violence because of those things. Of course, none of the stuff you have would keep you from using a weapon as you've done in the past, right? Inmate Enriquez, Presiding Commissioner Barton, is that a yes? Inmate Enriquez, yes, excuse me, I inaudible greater than. Presiding Commissioner Barton, that's okay. The transcriber doesn't know what to write when you say or m. Inmate Enriquez, I'm so sorry, sir. Presiding Commissioner Barton, those are difficult transcripts. All right, Ms. Shepard, any questions for your client? Can't hear you. Inmate Enriquez, Mr. Diaz. Presiding Commissioner Barton, well, now we lost Miss Shepherd. Now she's signing up. Man, everybody's had their turn. Inmate Enriquez, she's back. Presiding Commissioner Barton, Miss Shepherd, can you hear us? We cannot hear you. No, you're going to need to sign out and sign back in. We can't hear a word you're saying. Inmate Enriquez, thank you. Presiding Commissioner Barton, okay, I don't know what happened to her. Ms. Shepherd, we can't hear you and I'm going to need to hear you because if you don't have questions, we're going to go to your closing statement, but we cannot hear you. Your mic's not working. You might have to sign all the way out and sign back in. Deputy Commissioner Castro, yeah. Her microphone had a signal I had not seen before. It wasn't just mute, it was like not working or something, had the circle with the line across. Presiding Commissioner Barton, yeah, it was on her end, she had something happened. Okay, looks like she's signing back in. Let's see if we have her now. Ms. Shepherd, are you inaudible greater than? There's something wrong on your end. Microphone has a little circle with a line through it that we've never seen before. It's not coming from us, just means your mic isn't working. Here, can you do this for me? Just signal to me whether you have any questions or not. If you don't have questions, I'm going to take a short break before closing statement. But if you have questions, that's fine. You'll have to sign out and then sign back in. Do you have questions? She does have questions, okay. Then we've got to figure out a way. Log out, call back in. If we can't get you through this mic, we'll get you on audio through your phone. So for the record again, we could see Ms. Shepherd. We could not hear Ms. Shepherd. She has some symbol I've never seen before on her microphone, like her microphone's not working or something. Ms. Shepherd is back. Deputy Commissioner Castro, it's still there. Can we try? Can I mute her on? Can I mute her on this side and then see if she can? Presiding Commissioner Barton, she wants the invite. Deputy Commissioner Castro, okay. Laura, can you unmute now? Because I see the regular mute sign on it now. Attorney SHPPRD, how about now? Deputy Commissioner Castro, yeah, now I can hear you. Presiding Commissioner Barton, yeah. Attorney SHPPRD, great. Presiding Commissioner Barton, I don't know what you did, but Deputy Commissioner Castro, I muted. Attorney SHPPARD, it's telling me it was not allowed to unmute. I don't anyway. Presiding Commissioner Barton, well, you have a slight. Attorney SHPPARD, it was my turn. Presiding Commissioner Barton, and you still have a bad connection. So turn off your video and ask the questions by audio. That might help. Attorney SHPPARD, how about now? Can you hear me better now? Presiding Commissioner Barton, well, it's better. Deputy Commissioner Castro, yes.
Definition: bandwidth issue, network problem.
Presiding Commissioner Barton, much better. It's a bandwidth issue on your end. Attorney SHPPRD, all right. Presiding Commissioner Barton, clarifying questions, please. Attorney SHPPARD, thank you. Really, the only question I want to ask Mr. Enriquez is to just express his victim empathy. How do you feel at this point towards, your victims and the situation that we're in at this point? Presiding Commissioner Barton, okay, that's not a clarifying question. You can do that in your closing statement, Mr. Enriquez, clarifying questions. Attorney SHPPARD, okay, all right. Then, there's a couple of facts that I want to just get on record that relate to his post-conviction. Why were you, recommended for extraordinary conduct credit by CDCR? Inmate Enriquez. I had participated in activity that saves, human life. I had testified in a number of cases that enhanced the safety and security in the institution. And in doing so, I placed myself in danger numerous times. So they recommended me for a sentence reduction. Presiding Commissioner Barton, was there a write-up or something that we could see to verify that? I didn't see anything.
Definition: SOMS CDCR Strategic Offender Management System.
Inmate Enriquez, there's a CDC. Attorney SHPPARD, classification chrono which I submitted. It should also be in SOMS, but I submitted a copy and highlighted that line, in the portfolio that it's in the confidential. Presiding Commissioner Barton? Okay. I must have, it's just one line somewhere. Do you have a page number or something I can look at? Attorney SHEPPARD. Well, I don't know what page of your file it would be, because I don't know what format you received the document. I can tell you what page it is in my PDF that I submitted. Presiding Commissioner Barton. Yeah, that would help because it would give me an idea of where to look. Attorney SHEPPARD. All right. I'll find that for you when we take a 5-minute recess. Presiding Commissioner Barton. Yeah, I mean, in general. Attorney SHEPPARD. Okay. And then I wanted to ask about you continued to testify, and assist law enforcement. Is that true, Rene? Inmate Enriquez. Yes. I was just contacted and asked to testify in a trial in November as well. Attorney SHEPPARD. And you testified just a couple of months ago, correct? Inmate Enriquez. Yes. I testified in a trial just a couple of months ago, and regularly testify on a regular basis. I'm pulled up by either state, federal, or local agencies and testify on behalf of the prosecution, by cooperating in their investigations, by providing case support. Attorney SHEPPARD. And why do you do that? Inmate Enriquez. I do it to make amends for everything that I've done in my past. I do it to give back to the community. I know that I've made contributions to the Mexican Mafia in terms of my participation, membership, and promoting its philosophies. And I know that I've hurt a lot of people, not just in my dealings with the Mexican Mafia, my sexual offenses, and everything that I've done. The community has been impacted in a great way. Attorney SHEPPARD. Thank you, I'm sorry, you have more. Inmate Enriquez. Yeah. The community has been impacted in a great way, not just the individuals who were impacted by Mexican Mafia violence or my sexual violence, but the family members that had to pay for the individuals going into rehab, the individuals that lost their jobs, the individuals that prostituted themselves for drugs in gang territories that we controlled for drug distribution. The taxes that were used for prosecuting individuals for gang crimes. I do this to accept responsibility for the totality of my criminal behavior, which is immense. I don't minimize that at all. And I don't think that there's ever an amount of good that I can do that will make up for the wrong that I've done. So that's a lifelong commitment for me, even if it means putting myself in jeopardy, not immediate jeopardy. But when they say that I put my life in danger, that's the commitment I've made to the people to honor my victims, to the individuals who have given me the opportunity, even to the commissioners. Presiding Commissioner Barton? Well, Mr. Enriquez, let's be real. Your life was in danger every day you were a gang member. Inmate Enriquez. Oh yeah, I've said that, I've said. Presiding Commissioner Barton, whether you're on this side or that side. Inmate Enriquez. I've said that from day one that being Mexican Mafia member is one of the most dangerous things you can do. I mean, my life was in danger then. My life was in danger as a street gang member. But this is a different type of danger, I believe. Presiding Commissioner Barton, let me just do one thing for the record so Ms. Shepard doesn't feel like she has to go looking for it. The Deputy Commissioner found that page for me. Thank you. Attorney SHEPPARD. Great. Thanks. When you're, speaking of danger, when you're released on parole, how much danger do you think you will be in, and do you think that the people around you will be in danger of violence? Presiding Commissioner Barton, it's irrelevant. It's irrelevant, Mr. Enriquez. That doesn't clarify anything for me, and it doesn't bear on my decision today. Attorney SHEPPARD. Okay, that's fine. I wanted to go back to an issue that was raised towards the beginning of this hearing when, Commissioner Barton asked you about, any monies that are, any profit from the book that you wrote with Chris Blatchford. Is this the bestseller that's making a lot of profit, or are we talking about small sums here? Inmate Enriquez. It's pretty small sums. I mean, it may be $1,500 every 6 months. This is not astronomical money. Writing books is not as lucrative as people believe it is, but it's small sums. Attorney SHEPPARD. Do you get paid for any of your work as an expert witness? Inmate ENRIQEZ. I have never been paid for my testimony or being an expert witness. It's not like I accept money for that. I think that's part of my making amends to the community. Attorney SHEPPARD. Was there anything else that you discussed with the commissioners today that you wanted to further clarify? Inmate ENRIQEZ. I think that the part about, insight into my sexual offending. I understand the impact that I've made on my victims. I may not ever articulate that as well as I could have, but I do understand the ramifications of what I've done, that my decisions to commit those sexual offenses affect them even today. They may suffer from PTSD, have problems with intimacy and their relationships. It may have made them lose faith or doubt themselves or go into depression. I know what I did was wrong. It was horrific and I can never undo that. I don't ever want anybody to think that I've minimized or don't understand what I've done. I understand what I've done. I made horrible choices that hurt multiple people. And I don't want to walk away today and have the commissioners think that I don't understand the depth of what I've done. Attorney SHEPPARD. Thank you. I don't have any further clarifying questions. Presiding Commissioner Barton. All right. It's 10:59. You have 10 minutes to give a closing statement. Go ahead. Attorney SHEPPARD. If it's okay with you, I'm going to try turning my camera on. Presiding Commissioner Barton. Okay, if we start. Attorney SHEPPARD. It might be okay. Presiding Commissioner Barton. I'll let you know.
5 definitions. Definition 1, suitability. Whether an inmate is deemed appropriate for parole based on various factors. Definition 2, witness protection. Efforts to hide and support someone facing retaliation. Definition 3, recidivism, tendency to reoffend. Definition 4, peer status, standing among your friends. Definition 5, green light, a hit on someone in order to be killed.
Attorney SHEPPARD. Please let me know. All right. I'm going to go through the suitability factors, as they relate to the structured decision-making format. And let's start with age. Mr. Enriquez is 59, which is an age that statistically significantly reduces the probability of recidivism almost down to 0. It's an age that has, extreme impact on his static 99 score as well. While that score is static, a clinician is instructed to then mitigate it based on the age. But the offender is currently at his current age, that's a statistical, mitigating factor. It also, as the panel has discussed, falls under elderly parole. And not just because, his current medical conditions might reduce his ability to physically harm someone, but because we know that the brain continues to mature and change throughout life. And at this stage, men simply aren't as impulsive as they once were, even in their 30s and 40s and their 50s and 60s. They just have a different level of emotional intelligence, a reduced level of impulsivity, and are therefore far less likely to commit violence or be susceptible to peer influence. Sorry. So let's go to offender. Let's basically skip over escalating criminal history, because I'll agree that those factors certainly are aggravating. He had a juvenile assaultive history. He had an unstable social history. And let's move to offender self-control. Clearly, it was bad early on. Clearly, at the time of his crimes and early in his prison history, it was bad. But I think at this point, it's a significant mitigating factor. He's got a 16-year history of sobriety, of positive behavior, of complying with all institutional rules, of participating in extensive self-help, and of assisting law enforcement and cooperating and living in protective custody. Because of that, target that he's placed on his own back. So all of those speak to his self-control, his ability to control his impulses, and basically reject the peer influence that once was his entire purpose in life. Now it's been discussed when it comes to peer influence that, he cared about status and he wanted to, impress people and be seen as important. And something that's been pointed out by the last psychologist is that even if some of that is still there, he's now pointing that in a pro-social direction. He's now trying to impress law enforcement officials, and impress people who are making the world a better place. And so even if he does still have some of that desire for peer status, I think we all want to impress and be admired by certain people. It's just a matter of where we choose to aim that desire for validation and approval, whether we choose to aim it towards positive things or allow ourselves to seek acceptance from negative places. Moving in from offender self-control into offender change. We didn't really talk too much about the life crime here, because it basically goes without saying at this point that he's accepted full responsibility for both of the murders that he's in prison for, all of his criminal convictions. We talked at great length about the sexual assaults, and I believe he accepted full responsibility for them here today. He didn't minimize. He didn't shift responsibility onto anyone else, and he expressed remorse and understanding of what those victims went through. Now, of course he hasn't had the opportunity to do full sex offender treatment. He'll have that opportunity out in the community. But considering the lack of formal treatment that's been available, I think Mr. Enriquez has a pretty in-depth understanding of what his victims went through. Now, he misunderstood your question initially about were there threats, and when you asked the question, I also thought you meant, were there any verbal threats, like if you don't, I will. But when it comes to the implied threat of violence involved in his behavior, Mr. Enriquez was fully willing to embrace and accept responsibility for that. Moving to his institutional activity, designed to enhance his ability to function in society. This speaks of his programming. There's now been 5 panels that have agreed that he's had significant programming that amount to a lengthy period of positive rehabilitation, therapy, self-help groups, 12-step groups, recovery, being a mentor, going through CGA, AVPs, basically done every program that there is as well as individual therapy. And all of these have addressed the factors that led to the crime. Plans for parole. Much of this is confidential, but it includes a name change and witness protection ways to prevent any harm, because of that green light that he has, from the Mafia. But it also includes, a substantial support network. He's also, identified, especially at his previous hearing, a lot of options for, online therapy and online resources, so that if he does find that he can't leave his house because of that green light, he'll still have access to what he needs to be pro-social and to address any triggers that might come up. Now, sort of within plans for parole, I want to just talk about support. Mr. Enriquez has all of the typical forms of support that you would expect, right? He's got his family, some friends, some job offers, and some transitional resources like Homeboy Industries, PrEP. But in addition to that, he has sources of support that are almost unheard of in a parole hearing. He has had support letters from dozens, if not 100 or more law enforcement officials over the years, ranging from FBI to, local sheriffs and police departments to U.S. attorneys and DAs. The Los Angeles District Attorney's Office takes a general policy of supporting parole at this point. However, Mr. Enriquez's case, they've gone beyond that, and they've actually written a personal letter of support for his parole. It's there by a deputy DA by the name of Ben Skiff. I think that's the name. I'm sorry, I'm going off my memory. But that's there in your panel, in your portfolio. And that's because of the support that Mr. Enriquez has provided to the DA's office. They have seen and witnessed firsthand his commitment to, being on the right side of the law, and so they've offered that individualized support for him. He's also had what I would deem support from 5 panels, which have included 6, LL commissioners and deputy commissioners. He also, as this panel knows, recently received the support of Los Angeles County Judge Ryan. Judge Ryan ruled that there was no evidence to support the governor's last denial. So he too agreed that at this point, all the evidence favors a finding of suitability in Mr. Enriquez's case. And he's got the support. Presiding Commissioner Barton, I'm not counting this time against you. Not considering Judge Ryan's opinion has no bearing on our decision today, nor for that matter, the prior panels, as I previously stated. So while I appreciate your argument, I want the record to be clear those are not influential in our decision. Go ahead.
5 definitions. Definition 1, mitigated, made milder. Definition 2, belabor, argue or elaborate in excessive detail. Definition 3, comprehensive risk assessment, assessment that is detailed and inclusive. Definition 4, next of kin, closest living relative. Definition 5, ideology, system of ideas and ideals.
Attorney SHEPPARD, all right. In my opinion, they have some relevance, but of course you have the right to waive the evidence however you deem appropriate. I would also point out that he's had substantial support from within CDCR. Not only was he recently recommended by the Classification Committee for Extraordinary Conduct Credit, but he's had dozens and dozens of laudatory chronos written by, CDCR staff members ranging from, line level co's up through lieutenants and captains, and deputy wardens, all saying that his change is sincere. These are the people that see him and work with him and live alongside him on a daily basis. And inaudible the last category of support, which is his peers. And he's got dozens of letters written by other inmates describing who he is on the yard sincerely. These are the people who he were some arrogant ass that was just putting on a show for the board. They're the ones who would know and would realize that he was a fake. And yet you see the opposite. You see people describing sincerely how Rene, acts on a daily basis with his peers. So I think that support is a really important factor. All the things I described really show you who he is and how sincere he is. The evidence over the last 6 hearings now really, speaks for itself, and I don't want to belabor it. I just want to point to that authenticity. So, lastly, the comprehensive risk assessment found him to be a low risk for, violence, even taking into account the static 99 and everything else. And that doctor's opinion is significant evidence. And point out that risk assessment is now 1.5 years old, so it can be further mitigated by another year added to his, record of sobriety and his record of programming and all the rest of it. So I know that the victim's next of kin are going to speak. I know that their opposition is heartfelt, and I know that my client, sincerely respects their opposition. I want to just point out that much of their opposition, took the form of a petition and letters written by complete strangers who don't know, the case and didn't know the victims. These individuals are crime victims themselves or the family members of crime victims. And so they share that heartfelt kind of ideology. But those individuals don't have anything to add that has a bearing on evidence of suitability. And of course the victim's next of kin, their emotions are, and the impact on them is sincerely meaningful, but it also does not impact on the suitability and the dangerousness of my client. So I'll submit that the evidence shows he remains not a danger to the public. Presiding Commissioner Barton, all right, Mr. Enriquez, it's your opportunity to tell us anything you want to before we decide your case. Inmate Enriquez, thank you. First, I want to apologize to the victim's family, the Gavaldon family, the Figueroa family, the Montenegro family, and the Gallegos family. I listened to your testimony, last year. I listened to the victim's testimony last year and I truly appreciate it, the forgiveness of Robert Montenegro and his sister. And I understand the depth of your pain. I can't say that I understand it, but I respect your opposition, your anger. I know that you'll never get over. There's nothing that I can do or say, no program that I can participate in that will ever be enough. I understand that. And I know that I've caused pain in your life. That pain happens every time we come here, and I'm the cause of it. I know that. I'm sorry for what I've done, and I'm remorseful for what I've done. I spend all my days every day working to make amends for that. I know that's never going to be enough. The impact I've had on you, I created the scar or vacancy that can never be filled. The scar that will never. Presiding Commissioner Barton, Mr. Enriquez, I'm going to tell them they can't directly speak to you. You can speak to us and tell us about your feelings regarding the impact, but I'd rather you not speak directly. Inmate Enriquez, I apologize, sir. I apologize. My actions are to make amends for what I've done in the past. I am truly ashamed of what I've done. I am truly remorseful for what I've done. and the things that I have done are transparent and authentic. I do what I do because I want to become a better person, not because I want to hoodwink anybody. And I know there's a lot of things not to like about me, a lot of things that I've done in my past that are horrific, and nothing I ever do can mitigate that or make it go away. Those things are there. But I am no longer that person. Today, I've changed my life. I've done so for, a number of years and maintained this pattern of behavior. I no longer pose a threat to the community. I want to become a contributing member to society just as I am now, and I humbly ask that you find me suitable for parole. Presiding Commissioner Barton, all right. Thank you. I'm going to start with you, Ms. Mendoza, because you're there by yourself. That way I can organize the family, because they're all on one line. So Ms. Mendoza, do you have a statement that you wanted to read from Mr. Montenegro? Victim Representative Mendoza. Commissioner, I was asked, we're going to ask if we could just take a quick break so that I can. Presiding Commissioner Barton. Sure. Victim Representative Mendoza. Get the speaking order down for you guys and everything. Presiding Commissioner Barton, that would be fine. Let's take a break. Let's take a recess. It's about 11:10. We'll come back at 11:20. Everyone would be back on the call at 11:20, please. Recess. Deputy Commissioner Castro, we're back on the record. Presiding Commissioner Barton. Okay, we're back on the record in the matter of, Mr. Enriquez's subsequent parole consideration hearing. We're at that point in the hearing where we're going to be hearing victim impact statements. The victim impact statements, I want to make some comments. I have read the prior statements of everyone that's on the call. And certainly, you're welcome to say anything you like. However, I want to remind you that even though it's a virtual setting, and I know it's hard sometimes in these settings to understand that this is still a hearing room, and I'm going to be enforcing the decorum of the hearing room. In other words, I would like you to make your comments to the panel, not directly to Mr. Enriquez, just as I indicated to him. This isn't a direct conversation between you. So, please address your comments to myself and Commissioner Castro as a panel. So please refrain from, to the best that you can. I understand the emotions and the rawness of this every time you have to come to a hearing. But, I would ask that, again, you maintain decorum and try to refrain from, personal insults along the lines of, the last transcript, there were comments made about maggots and cockroaches and things of that nature, and it's just unnecessary. It doesn't add anything to the hearing. It certainly doesn't, sway the panel necessarily. You can certainly talk about the important qualities that you see in someone who murdered your family member. But again, I would ask everyone to try to maintain a dignified presentation to the best of your ability. And again, I understand how emotionally raw it is for you. So with that, I'm going to ask Amanda. I was told you were going to start first. And if each person would again restate their name, you don't have to spell your last name, but just restate your name so that the transcriber will know who's talking. And Amanda, go ahead. Bien ok, rodriguez. Amanda Marie Rodriguez. Presiding Commissioner Barton, go ahead, ma'am. Bien ok, rodriguez. Can you hear me okay? Presiding Commissioner Barton, yes, go ahead. Bien ok, rodriguez. Hello. My name is Amanda Marie Rodriguez. I'm cousin to Cynthia, and I'm also a representative from the National Organization of Parents of Murdered Children. Parents of Murdered Children is the only national nonprofit organization dedicated to the aftermath and prevention of murder. Unless you've had a murder in your family, you just don't know what it does to you. We, the family of Cynthia, walk in those shoes every day of our life. It is a living hell. I wonder if any of you could imagine what it is like with the exception of the inmate, Rene Enriquez, for the only thing he has done was commit murder or order a murder. He played God. He ordered the murder of Cynthia while on parole for only 5 days on December 24, 1989. And for what? He wanted to use her for an example, take her on a ride to hell with no regard for her or her children, her parents, or the rest of her family. The crime Cynthia committed was falling in love with the wrong man who happened to be an associate of this inmate. Her family has to live with what he did for as long as they live. Her children have grown up without the love of the mother. All of the Figueroa family live in fear of this man if he should be released. His attorney on her Facebook page called him a hero. That's an insult to real heroes in this country. All the veterans that have come home after fighting for our country, killed, taken prisoners, some still missing in action, those are heroes, not this man. He turned on his fellow members of this organization he belongs to or did belong to. That doesn't make him a hero. Several times we have heard law enforcement officers praise him for being a ratfink. However, in my volunteer work with the parents of murdered children, that is just a handful that praise him, not all of them. So he had a handful of support from some officers. That doesn't make him hero. I oppose his release. I don't want him as my neighbor. Do you? If so, make him your neighbor. Rent him a room in your home. Hire him as your gardener. Have him over for your Super Bowl party or Christmas Eve dinner. The governor now and in the past has stated he has done all required of him while in prison, but feel he is still a danger to any community. I agree along with thousands of members of the organization I volunteer and all of my friends and family. He has only been a criminal since the age of 11. What else does he know? I hope and pray that none of you ever have a murder in your family. But if that should happen, remember my organization and myself, as I serve to honor the memory of Cynthia, and I will help when I can anyone that needs my help. I also would like to bring it to someone's attention that if the inmate decides he would like to make a donation to an organization, parents of murdered children would be happy to take that in the name of Cynthia. And if that takes place, I would be happy to work with Ms. Shepard on that. I thank you for your time, and I pray that you do not grant him his freedom. Thank you. Presiding Commissioner Barton. Thank you, Ms. Rodriguez. All right. Richard again, if you'd state your name and relationship to the victim, please. Vinoc Richard Figueroa. Take your time. Take your time. Take your time. Vinoc Rodriguez. I know. Tell him I'm. Vinoc Richard Figueroa. Okay. My name is Richard Figueroa. I was on, I had a written statement prepared already, but this hearing has told me for a loop because I didn't expect it. I was, in the past, I was already, the family actually, for the past 2 years, I've already been under the assumption before the parole board has even gave their verdict, was on the assumption that they were already going to grant him his release because of their interaction. I thank you commissioners today, that today was it got deep in here today. And I thank you commissioners for that. Because today in this parole hearing, compared to previous parole hearings, there was no laughing and jiving going on with the inmate by the parole members, board members. Thank you for that. Thank you for all the out-of-the-box questions, and the hard line get to the truth of the matter of fact questions. I think those questions from the commissioners made a very big impact on what was said here today. I think even more than what myself, or my family members can ever say, because there were questions that needed to be asked, and it's evident of what was the response to it. What is really the truth here today? The inmate talks about not receiving money from, for participating with police agencies and so on and so forth. But there are two, I remember writing on this matter to the parole board members and to the governor on this matter that he did receive money by these agencies. So who's telling the truth here? I got right here from the, dated February 5th, 2016 by the OC County Register by Don Thomas. And it reads, the online article reads that I'm sorry, give me a minute. Well, I'll read the one from the Los Angeles, by the Los Angeles Times by Kate Mather and Victoria Kim, dated January 30th, 2015. The online article, it states that Enriquez told parole commissioners that he receives $200 a week from work for the FBI and ATF, money he used to help pay the mortgage and put the kids through school. He said he expects to continue receiving the payments if he is released. Not only is that in the LA Times, but that's also in an Orange County Register online article, like I said earlier, dated February 5th, 2016, by Don Thompson. So someone's lying here, so let's carry on with that. For the inmate to say that, he gets the family members could send money through the, financial benefits of the book sales you get, I think that's a very, pardon my language, a very lame response, I guess. I mean, if this cat could learn how to shoot drugs in and out of prison, he could figure out how to get some funds from the book sales. I thank you, Commissioner, for asking that question about, how does that money, where's that money going? Because that question is long overdue and it needed to be asked. We, the family, have been on that for a very long time now, and we just never knew how to go about going around it or dealing with that situation. Not to say that the money is a top priority for this family, but it's just a slap in the face how this gentleman is hiding money. Inaudible greater than, look at it however you want to look at it, but he is gaining benefits for the stories. All these acts that he has committed, not directly, but God, I swear to God, but I bet you God as my witness, it is being done. It's a book that was published in 2008. All the money that he's been gaining since 2008 from just one of the books. 2021, do the math. Yeah, let me just go on with my letter. I had to rewrite this. Like I said, this hearing today has threw me for a loop. I had to rewrite it because, like I said, this family was already under the impression that the parole board was already going to grant parole. So seeing that there's different parole board members here, and it's a whole another different vibe and spirit here today, that I'm going to try to do my best in reading what I have already prepared. And it goes as the following. This letter to express my hope for the rejection of any parole request by inmate Rene Enriquez. We have come to know this person as a predator of his own people, but yet we are here today to witness whether this individual is deemed suitable to be released amongst the rest of us in society. With our family, friends, and the support of the public, we have been actively expressing our desire for the rejection of this inmate's request to be released for about 3 to 5 years now since we learned of these parole hearings. The reasons are true and simple. There was a lot of blood on this inmate's hands. Not only the blood of my cousin, Cynthia Gavaldon, but all the innocent, struggling young brothers and sisters who this inmate has terrified and manipulated for decades, inaudible in more ways than one. I could go on and repeat all the evil acts that this inmate committed against our God, our people, and others, but that would be a waste of time and energy. We all know about the sadistic actions of this inmate before and during most of his incarceration. Some of us choose to ignore the past action of this inmate and instead of praise the latter action of his dropout gangs and helping of authorities' performance. What needs to be taken into consideration is how many generations are being affected by this inmate's actions by pushing poison to the people. According to this online article entitled Psychology of Addictive Behaviors, Journal of the Society of Psychologists in Addictive Behaviors, it affects at least 3 generations. That's 75 to 90 years of manipulating corruption. All of that blood on his hands. So in essence, he started killing my cousin, Cindy, for some time before he actually spoke those words to have her murdered. Let's marinate on that one. Give that a minute to really sink in. 3 generations, 75 to 90 years of people being affected by pushing that poison into our people into the streets. With that in mind, the Figueroa family would like to elaborate on their understanding of why this inmate decided to become a police ally. Please do not think that the gesture to help out authorities is taken lightly, but to think and to say out loud that this inmate deserves his freedom and has shown our people and others remorse because of these actions, we respectfully cannot agree with that. The family has for a few years now, along with others, intensely stand on the stance that the sole motivation for this inmate's remorseful action was to gain favor and empathy against those who have the power to help him with his release. Once again, using people for his personal gain. One could honestly say that they can't see the inmate patiently playing a game of chess with unaware opponents. Last year, our family received a few apology letters written over the years from the inmate via his lawyer. I would like to put the reactions from the family members on record so you and others can be aware. I'll begin with my reaction. I read the first few sentences of a couple of letters and immediately turned off the laptop thinking I heard this bullshit already. I say these words not out of spite, but after listening, watching, and reading numerous videos and online articles, but they show the contrary to those letters. And actually and honestly, it really looked like it was really quickly made up. There were 2 family members who did tell me to forward them, email those letters, But there was a number of family members who strongly refused to be bothered by those letters. They remember Cynthia. They remember her being murdered. They remember breaking the news to Nana. And after all that, they're reminded of the pain. Yes, we all understand he wants to go home and be with his family. It's difficult, right, being kept away from them? So just think about how it strikes us who seek those who are 6 feet deep, sleeping, unaware of what's going on around them. It's difficult not to be able to hear, see, embrace, talk to, smell, advise, or just to generally interact with them. Maybe instead of giving money to an agency that supports peace officers with no disrespect intended, which is what he was told to do instead of contacting the family to show remorse. If he was truly remorseful, he would have shown it by donating the money to organizations that fight against the trauma he inaudible inflicted. For example, donate it to drug rehab centers, an outreach youth program, a battered women's program, organize a program to help his own people to thrive, inaudible or victims of violent crimes programs. Even a homeless shelter. But no, he donates or creates some kind of account or program for firefighters and peace officers, once again, seducing those who have the power to help him with his release. He was not thinking to repair the damage he caused or thinking to assist his people, but moving about getting into positions, looking for that checkmate move to get released, and also helping his own family members out. For instance, blaming his parents for their knowledge of his molestation. One day, he wasn't a victim, and the next day, now he is. Maybe one day the God of our forefathers, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, will see and hear his repents as being genuine and will open the hearts of the man in power to give him his freedom on those walls. But until then, as long as our Father puts it in our hearts to be here and continue to contend the request of freedom, we will be here every time after. In the end, Governor, please, like I said, we were thinking he will be granted, but, I apologize for thinking ahead of time because I didn't know that this board members were going to come out like this. Like I said, past board members were showing favoritism to the inmate. So in the end, Governor, please, I wrote, please reverse the parole board's decision to release this inmate against us. Please hear and understand our inaudible, delicate matter that is before you. Think not only of Cynthia Gavaldon and her family, think not of only the other victims, David and Salvador, excuse me, I can't pronounce her last names right now, but with no disrespect intended, but please think of all the blood that has been spilled on the earth because of his words and actions. Remember all the terrified elders and all the youth that were manipulated and terrified as well. But please remember that the inmate admitted that that family members or a family member is receiving financial benefit from a book that sells from his published works. And then ask yourself, how genuine is his repentance? How genuine is his remorse? That's the end of my letter. Presiding Commissioner Barton, Figueroa. And is Raymond Figueroa going to speak? Inaudible Ms. Avila speaking for him. 6 CTIM Representative AVILA, Raymond speaking. Presiding Commissioner Barton, okay. VNOK RAWMOND FIGROA, I'm going to speak. Presiding Commissioner Barton, all right. Sir, got to follow certain things so we make sure that it's all on the record. Okay? So again, I know it's difficult to speak. I'm going to ask you to try to control yourself and start off by giving us, your full name. VNOK RAWMOND FIGROA. My name is Raymond Figueroa. Presiding Commissioner Barton, thank you, go ahead. VNOK RAYMOND FIGROA. I am the father of Cynthia Figueroa. This inmate had my daughter executed between the eyes and one on the chest. Let me back up a little bit. I'm full of mixed feelings right now. I've had 30 years of anger, sorrow, all the negativity I can't even put in words. This guy might come up with big fancy words like the lawyer. I'm not well-read like he is, but I'm going to tell you reality in my plain language. I grew up with a neighborhood. I grew up with a project. This guy came from a middle-class family. This guy's telling the whole world that his mother abused him. His father abused him, his brother abused him, after they're all dead. Give me a break. I grew up all these gangsters before his day, before this guy was born. I'm going to name some names so he'll know who I'm talking about. Joe Morgan, baby, inaudible greater than those people are from my neighborhood. This guy he knows about them. But put that aside, this guy had my daughter executed. She was not murdered, and I will never get over it. God gave her the breath of life. Life is a journey. I don't care how many programs this guy tells you he's done, how many AA class he's been through, how many letters he got from the police department. That isn't cutting it. He's got his 2 kids that he put through college. They send them on helicopters, sent to Long Beach College over here and paid $50,000 for him to run his mouth. Give me a break. And this lawyer looking down, looking at right here while my nephew was talking, grinning about everything, smiling, that isn't right. I want him to, please release. I want him to be your neighbor. You live in the house next to you. Presiding Commissioner Barton. Mr. Figueroa, I'm the judge. This is not about the attorney. I don't want you to have a personal conversation with her. You can say that it offends you, but let's move past the personal comment towards the attorney. VNOKRAYMOND Like I just told you, Mr.
Definition: lupus autoimmune disease.
Commissioner, I'm not much on fancy words. You're going to have to excuse me in that area. I didn't go past the 8th grade. You know, this guy learned all that big fancy words when he's been locked up all this time. You know, I'll give him credit on that, but he doesn't got nothing coming. I know what he's going for because I've been there. I've lived it. I lived that life when I was in my 20s before he was born. This guy is mad. He should get an Oscar for the way he's acting, for the big fancy words and all the letters and all the programs he's doing. That isn't going to get it. Give me back my daughter and you can send him to be anybody, this guy, anybody's neighbor. I don't think you want him for your neighbor. This guy's got to pay for what he did. This guy is a wanted man. I got over 7,000 signatures, over 100 letters, 7,000 signatures from my union alone, and this lawyer wants today. Okay then, well, I'm VNOKRODRIGUZ, sorry. VNOKRAYMONDFIGUROA, you're going to have to excuse me, but I am pissed off. 30 years of anger here. I don't get to see my daughter, she's 6 feet under. He gets to visit his 2 sons. He put them to college. Put yourself in my place, please. This guy is a wanted man out here, getting up petitions I've ran in where I'm living. Hey, you want this guy. You people want to be responsible for what happens if he comes out. I tracked down his partner that shot her. And 5 minutes over the microphone, over this new gadgets they've got nowadays. And wondering, and one more thing before I inaudible get bent out of shape here more so, because I'm trying to respect you people as doing your job. You're supposed to be, I can't even think anymore, but the key, how do you say it? You pose to be the gatekeepers of people like him from not destroying other people's lives out here. This guy, he inaudible kill me. Everything he touched, he destroyed. He's kill me. How can you get a write-up if I got to deal with this guy every year? He can't get a write-up in prison if I was back in prison. I had an A acute number before he was born. That was 55 years ago. And I got to deal with this guy every year and pull through all this paperwork and putting my cousin through all this. She's got lupus, she's sick, my family is a mess, my grandkids to maybe forgive him. You know why? Because they never knew their mother. They were only 6 and 8 at the time. I'll just put it this way instead of talking. I'll end it like this before I even say something I don't want to say. Like I said, I'm going to repeat myself again. You better remember this guy as a wanted man out here. I ran it to thousands of people in that signatures that want to see this guy. He's better off. I don't want him. They wanted to put him, you got to back up a little bit. He wanted to put this guy to sleep in the beginning. He was mocking the judge. He was mocking the system. He was mocking me when I was there listening to all that, jury thing, giving me the finger, giving me dirty looks. And he slipped through that, remember that. 2 murders, 47 armed robberies, a rape in prison inaudible just talked about, and robberies. Every robbery he did, think of the person that went through all that trauma and all that pain, the guns stuck through their head. I know what I'm talking about because I had a gun stuck to my head in my 20s. And I know that when that gun was stuck to my daughter's forehead, her heart, her whole life went blast through her body in seconds because that happened to me. She probably thought her kids, me, her mother, and inaudible her mother. Let me talk, maybe I don't know. I'm going to say the wrong words to the lawyer, or I should just say mother's. My wife says my daughter was executed. Like I said, I don't know if I said it, but I'm going to say it again. December the 24th, Christmas Eve, 1989. Think about it. My wife, he has ruined my relationship, my first relationship with my wife. Since '89, she has locked herself up in a one-bedroom apartment in San Bernardino as long as he's been in prison. You talk about pain. This guy, he got mad at me. He gets paid. He gets 3 meals a day. He smokes and jokes with his buddies. And now she's in a rest home taking medication. She don't have a life. She's 75 years old now. You got to listen to me, right? I'm tired of dealing with this guy every year. What happened to 5 years? I don't have a life. I worked all my life. I don't have no golden years here. Like you, Commissioner, you're getting up there in age. When you retire, how are you going to feel? No, I don't wish this on nobody, but I am angry. I got to inaudible my life. I miss my daughter. You know that all of them holidays, my kids, my grandkids, we don't have a relationship. I can talk about this all day. I think I missed one important thing here, but I can't remember it. I am so angry. But I want you, all of you people, to remember what I'm going through. I wouldn't wish this on nobody. If it happened to him or to anyone, you know what, they would be saying the same thing I would be saying. Because it happens every day and all the programs in the world that isn't going to change this person because this. I'll tell you one thing, like I told you, I'm from the neighborhood. I grew up with old-timers, but they're all dead now, the people I had mentioned. You could always take the person out of the neighborhood, but you'll never take the neighborhood out of the person. You've got to remember that because they'll track this guy down. You better send him to the North Pole. I'm telling you. You could put them up under 5 different names. I know because I know people in that prison where he's at from my neighborhood. He's inaudible people that go into protective custody. I know, I'm telling you. I got youngsters, the younger generation that are in that prison that go into protective custody and he screens them. When's the last time you tested this guy for drugs? You never tested him. And one more thing, they're going straight to him because they look up to him. He still has followers out of here in the streets. You people don't know what you're dealing with. I don't care if he's 60 Sirhan, inaudible was a Kennedy. My daughter might not have been a Kennedy, but she was my daughter. She was a human being. She had my blood running through her veins. I want you, if this guy gets inaudible, this guy has no one. He's murder. Everything he touch is murder. All of a sudden he's a Christian. His parents are dead now. He's talking bad about them, throwing them underneath the bus. I got cousins, inaudible teacher that grew up with his family. They knew his family, his mother and father. He came from a middle-class family. Everybody, we all met. We all have decisions to make in our life. But lawyer, commissioner, him, especially him, we got to pay the consequences. And he has to pay the consequences. When the bird leaves the nest, it always comes back to the nest. I don't care how old he is. He can be 20, he could be 100. That's all he knows. That's all he'll ever know. You better send this person to the North Pole. I'm telling you, you're going to make a big mistake because a lot of people want this person. I don't care what he did for society, the police department. Give me back my daughter and you can send him to be anybody else's neighbor in a high-rent district in Hollywood. He should win an Academy Award. Presiding Commissioner Barton, Mr. Figueroa, Mr. Figueroa, are you okay? VNOK, RODRIGUZ. No, not really. Can we take a minute, please? Presiding Commissioner Barton. Well, I heard some broke problems and I don't want him getting worked up, passing out inaudible himself. VNOK, RAYMOND, FIGURO. No, I'm okay. No, I'll end it. I don't want to say any more because I got a lot of the pain right now. Now I've got to wait 90 days to see what happens. You had this idiot right here, this cancer, they never fund a cure for cancer up to this day. You're going to have to listen to me. I've waited 30 years, think about it. 30 years, I have to live with this, and I'll live with it until I die. My daughter should be burying me and she's not here to do that. She didn't deserve to be executed. She wasn't murdered. She was executed, thrown in a vacant lot. Give me a break. And Gali goes, inaudible greater than, and this guy shoots her 7 times in the head. Come on, man. And then I got to deal with this guy next year. I can't even enjoy my pension. I can't even go on a vacation because 6 months later, I'm out here doing the paper, hitting the streets. Deputy Commissioner Castro, he's breaking up. Presiding Commissioner Barton, Mr. Figueroa, we're losing you. Mr. Figueroa, we've lost sound from you guys. I heard you say I'm going to end it. Were you finishing? VNOK Arodirajuzzi, hello. Presiding Commissioner Barton, yeah. VNOK Arodirajuzzi, can you hear us now? Presiding Commissioner Barton, I can hear you now, yes. Is he okay? VNOK Raymond Figueroa, I just want. VNOK Arodirajuzzi. No, he's not. Presiding Commissioner Barton, okay. VNOK Raymond Figueroa. I'm just going to end in one more, give me 1 more minute and a half. Presiding Commissioner Barton, sure. VNOK Raymond Figueroa. Then 7,000 signatures that I sent in came from my union where I work. And I have to deal with this person again, they are willing to shut the whole harbor down for 1 day. And if you don't think that's going to be a bad thing for the economy, let it be. Whatever happens, happens, but my memberships of 7,000 members are willing to do that. The president of Local 13 and my family has spoken. The people have spoken, and that's all I have to say. Presiding Commissioner Barton, thank you, sir. VNOK Rodiriguz, okay. Thank you for your concern and asking how my cousin is. I really appreciate your kindness. VNOK Raymond Figueroa, thank you. VNOK Rodiriguz, and we can't thank you enough. Presiding Commissioner Barton, I can't see him. No, that's okay. I can't see him, but I can only go on what I'm hearing. So, all right, was there anyone else? VNOK Raymond Figueroa, thank you, Mr. Commissioner, for listening to me. Because like Richard mentioned, you're about the only one from last year that came out with some strong questions for this inmate. I'm not much on fancy words, but I applaud you for the way you ask him questions because there's a truth in this reality. I'm living it. Thank you very much. VNOK Rodriguez, thank you, Mr. Commissioner. Everybody else, Erica, thank you. Presiding Commissioner Barton, okay, Ms. Avila, were you going to say something? VNOK Rodriguez, no, she's okay. She was going to step in to help Mr. Figueroa, but, we're standing next to him. So he did it okay. Presiding Commissioner Barton, all right. Thank you all for your participation. We're at that point in the hearing where we're going to adjourn for deliberations. The way this works is we're going to sign off from the call and we'll sign back on. And I know because of the comments you've made in the past that you think that this is something that takes hours to decide. But the reality is because we do so much work ahead of time preparing for the case, reading everything, reading all the prior transcripts, and there's so much recent on this one. What the Deputy Commissioner and I really have to do is zero in on any issues we think are relevant to whether or not he's a current unreasonable risk to public safety. And so once we've done that, actually giving the decision doesn't always take that much time. So I don't want you to think that we're in any way shirking our responsibility or not taking this matter seriously. But in the reality is we never know until we start talking to each other what issues either one of us has. So I usually start off at 15 minutes on all of my cases. Sometimes we need more time. If that's the case, we'll come back at 12:20 and we'll tell you that we need more time. If it's not, we'll give our decision at that time. So right now, we're going to take a break. It's 12:02. We'll come back on at 12:20 and we're in recess until that time. Thank you, everyone. Recess. California Board of Parole Hearings Decision Deputy Commissioner Castro, we're on the record. We're on the record. Presiding Commissioner Barton, all right. Good afternoon. This is Commissioner Robert Barton. The time now is 12:22 p.m., and we're here on the 6th subsequent life parole consideration hearing for Mr. Enriquez, CDCR number H69471. We have, deliberated, and this is a difficult case in many respects. And unfortunately, the deputy commissioner and I were not able to reach a conclusion for a couple of reasons. First of all, we were concerned about same concern of the governor's, that being Mr. Enriquez's entrenched criminality. And today, in just speaking to his remorse, to his mental state toward the crime, we did find disingenuous some of his comments about, profits from the book, and his inability or his ability to avoid that question several times. And that alone may not have made a difference in our decision, but we are concerned, and we have a question about what the transcript will actually bear out on this issue. So what we're going to do is ask the investigative team here at Board of Parole Hearings to investigate the additional information as to whether or not he has been paid in the Rene Enriquez H69471 15/2021 decision page 1 past. And we would ask, Mr. I think it was Mr. Figueroa or Mr. Rodriguez, I forget who it was, that gave us that information. But to, provide that information that you may have actually given us a citation so it would be in the transcript. Otherwise, we'll have someone reach out to you. But we each have notes on that may not be in line with what was actually stated in the record. However, our feeling is since we were undecided, on whether or not current evidence of entrenched criminality, disingenuousness, simpler terms lying, still exists in pertinent matters regarding Mr. Enriquez, we wanted to make sure that we have a clear record on that and also whether or not, his willingness to lie under oath to commissioners is evident from the record. So we're going to continue this case for BPH investigation. We're going to look into the reports that he has been paid. We're going to go over the transcript to determine whether or not he actually lied for us on that question. And we're also going to look at the transcript in terms of the, line of questionings in at least 2 other areas where we thought there was some disingenuousness on his part. I don't know the exact amount of time that it will take for them to conduct the investigation. Typically, it's the next available Rene Enriquez H69471 15/2021 decision page 2 date. And usually it's beyond 120 days because they have to renotice everyone. But what will happen for everyone's benefit is that once we get the investigation, it will be confidential to myself and Commissioner Castro. We will review it together. We will keep our notes. We will look at our notes. We will then, be able to come to a decision one way or the other based upon that. But all we would be coming back for is our final decision. So that's going to be what the panel is going to do at this time. Ms. Shepard, did you have a question or was your hand raised for some other reason? Attorney SHPPARD, yes, I do. Presiding Commissioner Barton, go ahead. Attorney SHPPARD, can you hear me? Presiding Commissioner Barton, I can. Attorney SHPPARD, I believe that if there's further investigation, that's new evidence and my client has a right to ask or to provide testimony related to that new evidence. Presiding Commissioner Barton, yeah, I don't know what we're going to get. If that's how it comes out, then we'll allow him to, but I don't know what we're going to get. Attorney SHPPARD, okay. Well, does the panel have any further clarifying questions now? Because I would like to ask him further clarifying questions. Presiding Commissioner Barton, well, we're past that. The hearings, there was some information that came up in the victim statements. However, that's not the only thing that we're continuing this for. We want to take your post, the transcript, because our notes are not necessarily verbatim on the questions that were asked and the answers he gave. So there's basically 2 things that are working in tandem that will help us make a decision in this case. One is the line of questions that we asked him and his specific answers, which we can only find from the transcript. The other is information regarding him being paid and if he actually denied that in an answer to a question in the proper context. I'm not going to take argument from you, Ms. Shepard. I'm telling you. This is at the stage where we're at. So that's what we're going to do. There's nothing I can do now to go back and correct the record. That would not be appropriate. So I'm not going to do that. Attorney SHPPARD. Right. I'm just saying from a Rene Enriquez H69471 15/2021 decision page 4 procedural perspective, once that investigation is complete, there has to be a further hearing for my client to be able to give testimony about that evidence. Presiding Commissioner Barton, well, potentially. I don't know what's going to happen. There wouldn't be further evidence about the transcript. If we end up making our decisions solely on what we read in the transcript and how we view that evidence, there isn't going to be any additional testimony. Attorney Shepard, right, but if the investigation goes beyond the transcripts. Presiding Commissioner Barton, yeah, there's something that comes from him having been paid, and whether or not he wants to address that at that time, there may be a limited scope of questions that he would be allowed to answer. But we'll cross that bridge when we come to it. I don't know if we're going to even come to it. No, you can talk to your attorney, Mr. Enriquez. All right, so that. Inmate Enriquez, thank you.
Definition. Mood pointless to discuss.
Presiding Commissioner Barton, that's our ruling. We are going to be continue, and it may be moot for all I know. Between now and then, you may have already succeeded in the courts on your prior grant. I don't know. But I have to make my decision in a vacuum in the sense that we're looking at what's in front of us today. And while you made the comment that we can weigh prior decisions of a prior judge or prior commissioners, we don't weigh those decisions. We set them aside. They're not evidence. They're somebody else's decision on what they had in front of them. We have now a case in front of us, so we make our decisions independent of that. I apologize to the family. I recognize that this means that you're coming back once again, for a resolution to this case one way or the other. But again, there is still pending litigation that may resolve the case, which may make our decision, moot, or in other words, irrelevant, and I don't know. And I still don't know which way we're going to decide. I want to be very clear about that. One of the reasons we're asking for this investigation is because we are undecided and we feel that this will help us make that decision. So that is where we're at. Ms. Mendoza, for your benefit and the benefit of the family, I'm not going to go into, any more details than that because again, I think it's only fair that we wait and let the record speak for itself. But is there any generic question, process question that they have? Rene Enriquez H69471 15/2021, decision page 6 victim representative Mendoza. I don't believe so. No. And if any questions, I can refer them back to the DA's office. Presiding Commissioner Barton, all right. Victim representative Mendoza, thank you. Presiding Commissioner Barton, that's what's going to happen. Everyone will be notified of the new hearing date and time. Then we'll come back for pronouncement of our decision and possibly, to your point, Ms. Shepard, a limited scope of questions. And as I said, someone from BPH, if necessary, will be reaching out. They can do their own search also for, stories, and we have enough in the transcript maybe where they can find them independently. But if not, they'll probably reach out as a result of this. We do have contact information for the victim's family. So, and they may reach out and actually interview Mr. Enriquez. It's been my experience in investigations. They oftentimes will do that too. So he may be able to have his views heard or his clarifications through an interview with an investigator. That's going to be up to the investigator and depending on what we find out. So it is now 12:30. As I said, we're not able to reach a resolution on this case. We're continuing it for Rene Enriquez H69471 15/2021 decision page 7 further investigation and everyone will be notified. It will be myself and Commissioner Castro, however, barring one of us no longer being on the board. Okay. Goodbye, everybody. Thank you for your participation, and we'll see you next time. Deputy Commissioner Castro, time is 12:30. Adjournment.
Definition. En banc with all judges present.
This transcript contains the proposed decision of the Board of Parole Hearings, Board, announced at your recent board hearing and is provided to you in compliance with Penal Code Section 3041.5, Subdivision A. 4, and California Code of Regulations, Title 15, Section 2254. This proposed decision will become final within 120 days of the date of the hearing as required by Penal Code Section 3041, Subdivision B. Unless the board notifies you in writing before then that the proposed decision has been modified, vacated or referred to the full board, sitting NBANC due to an error of law, Error of fact or new information pursuant to California Code of Regulations. Title 15, Section 2042, thereafter. The Governor has authority to review the Board's decision and affirm, modify, or reverse it pursuant to Penal Code Sections 3041.1 and 3041.2. Certificate and Declaration of Transcriber. I, Evangeline Camb, am a disinterested party and have no interest in the outcome of the hearing. Further, I certify this transcript is a true, complete, and accurate record, to the best of my ability, of the recorded material provided for transcription of proceeding for. In the matter of the parole CDC number H69471 consideration hearing of Rene Enriquez, Ironwood State Prison BLYTHE, California 9/15/2021 8:49 a.m. signed. Evangeline Camb, transcribed by Evangeline Camb, Conduit Transcriptions. You have reached the end of the document.